So, greetings, sentient beings. Who have we got here in the side chat now? Critical Cripple and Brian Stevens.
Hello. What's up, guys? I need to get my tablet so that I can bring up the side chat.
Okay. Ah,
Silver, your picture is sideways.
I know. I'm sideways and stretched out, y'all. Who did what to my face and why?
This is why plastics are bad. Things like this happen to good people.
hello, Angie.
Hi, how's everybody doing?
Hello.
Angie!
Doing good. How about
Hello!
you?
Good, good, good. Stayed up
Hi,
late
Angie.
just for this.
I
Angie
appreciate that.
Rainbow Head.
Yes, I love the rainbow.
That's for when I can't decide what color I want to be.
Hey, that's perfect.
One thing I've never tried is dyeing my hair.
You
Oh,
should.
it's just spray paint. It washes off.
Yeah,
I was literally just fixing to say, like, if you don't want to actually dye it, you can always just do, like, I have colored hair gel in
Yeah,
different colors,
yeah.
and it
yeah,
works
I've
really
done
well.
that for a Halloween costume of the stuff that just washed out. But
Yeah.
I hope that stuff's gotten better because I did that one year and I turned into Helmet Head.
Oh, it's
Oh
pretty
no.
sticky. Yeah, it's pretty sticky stuff. It's like hairspray. But they have this other stuff called hair.
Get off the
Well,
I
railroad
choo
hear
tracks.
choo
that
to you
train a
too.
coming.
Oh,
It's a
sorry.
rolling round the bend. Um, they have some stuff called hair chalk.
hmm
Oh yeah, I've
That's
seen that.
not as sticky and helmety as the spray paint is.
I can't remember the name of what it is I use, but it's very non-sticky. It's like a cream.
Yeah.
It's like a colored cream, so it's really easy to use, and
Hmm.
it's like really easy to manage whatever hairstyle you want to create with it. I like it a lot.
And we've got Brian and Jen and
I'd like to go have my
everybody
hair
here.
straight,
Hmm.
but I
Hello,
can't.
Math Pig.
But I can't afford that.
Matt
Hi, Matt
Big,
Big.
what's up, Matt Big?
hey, Math Fig.
Oh, I need to get the chat popped out here. I
Yeah,
can't.
that's what I'm fixing to do.
I
Trying to
can't.
get to another device.
I can see it, but I
That was
can't
an
type
interesting
in it.
thing I learned recently about.
Okay, well, anyway, what I was going to go on about was Badger and David Worley had a conversation on Tuesday about the problem with plastics in the environment. But there's a few points in that I hear the same thing about the plastics all the time, and there's a couple of points that I don't hear brought up in the discussion very often that I think people need to be aware of. And
Yeah.
I think as far as the single-use plastics, I think there needs to be a lot less stressing on plastics are evil and a lot more stressing on the single-use part.
Yes.
Yeah, there's that. I agree with that.
And I mean, we've all seen the three recycling arrows: the reduce, reuse, recycle, and that's a decent start. But how come they never put repair in that? Why does the idea of fixing things never even mentioned?
Well, most
You're
of
just
Right.
those
supposed to
single-use
throw
plus.
everything out and buy new ones.
Well, they make them so thin nowadays. That's part of the thing. Is like in order to reduce, plastic bags are super thin now.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh
if you
yeah,
ever
but
have you gotten a single use water bottle lately? It's like paper thin now.
Yeah, well, I won't buy bottled water. That's, one thing I think can easily
Well,
be
I don't
avoided.
either. But I deal with them in my job, and like sometimes they'll give it to us. Like we had a boil water warning last week, so my work basically just like here's water, and these bottles were so thin that like you pick it up and it crinkles because it's giving to the pressure
Mm-hmm.
just for you to
Yeah,
hold it.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah, I know what you mean. And well, it's not just plastic. It's the U.S. economy is based on consumerism. They need to sell you stuff every day to keep everything going. And it's like even the cars are made to be disposable. And that's the hassle I just had, with my car was when they designed that, no one had any regard for anybody actually trying to put a wrench into it anywhere to fix anything. You can't reach any of the bolts. There is no way you can get your wrench and a hand in there to the bolt and actually see what you're doing.
Okay, that
Yeah.
sounded like a dirty conversation.
Well, we
can't
we live in a
can't get your hand in a
disposable
wrench and the bolt.
society. Everything is designed to be thrown away, even the cars.
Yep.
They don't want you to fix it. They want you to trade it or throw it away and buy a new one.
Right.
They
Yep.
want,
What
if you
happened to
do
Angie?
fix
I
it,
can't hear her.
you can't hear me? Oh dear.
I'm sorry,
Uh
Jen.
oh.
Who are you not hearing?
Angie, I don't hear her at all.
Uh
I'm
oh.
talking. Can you not hear
Is
me?
anyone else? I can hear Angie. Is anyone else
I
having a
can hear
problem?
everybody.
No, I can hear fine.
All
And
right,
Maybe
I'm
try
gonna
to
Jen, you can hear
restart.
Okay.
everyone else?
I'm gonna leave and come back in.
Okay.
Poof.
It
Okay.
it's just weird that would only be one person you can't hear. I
Yeah,
don't
Oh
know
that's.
what would
no.
cause that.
I
Yeah.
blame stuff
Well,
on my shitty internet, but I
StreamYard
don't
is
think.
very strange. They still haven't worked out all the kinks yet, so
Yeah,
I
she's a
don't
little glitchy.
If they worked out all the kinks, you wouldn't come here.
Well,
I was waiting for you to make that joke. You know
what
it,
I was
baby.
getting at was there's no incentive to fix things. I mean, you
Hmm.
can't go to the electronics store now and buy a tube for your TV. You can't go
Yep.
and get a new screen for your monitor. They're designed
Without
to be
it
tossed.
costing more than the
Yeah,
actual product itself. Like they
yeah,
make it to where you're very correct. They make it to where it's actually cheaper to buy a whole new product versus
right.
fixing the one that you have.
Hi,
Yep.
Bub. Hi, remember Sammy
Hey,
Jenkins?
Jen.
Bub, my love, what's up?
Well, actually, that's a big part of how our society's gotten into this. Hey, Bub.
Well, I don't know how.
That um.
Sometimes I'm afraid to say that I watch Adam Ruins Everything. Do y'all have a problem with that? Some people have a
No.
problem with
Oh
his
no, I
show.
love that show.
I love that show.
He did a. Did you watch the one on recycling that he just did a couple weeks ago? I think it was.
Well,
I
I
don't
I
think I
haven't
saw
seen
that
anything
one.
of the current season.
Well, it upset me tremendously because it turns out a whole lot of the stuff that we think we are recycling is not actually getting recycled. It's getting taken to the landfills.
That was actually
Mm-hmm.
one of the points I was going to get to. Yes.
And we've also been brainwashed into thinking that it's our fault that there's it's the consumer's fault, and it's
Exactly.
not
When
the
it's the
consumer's fault.
company's fault.
That's
It
right.
is
They
the
could
company's
use
fault.
alternative packaging and they don't
Mm-hmm.
because it's so much cheaper and it's
Yep.
so much part of the uh, what you said earlier, the oil
Yep.
that it comes
Oh
from.
yeah.
It's so much part of all of that, and it's just a
Yeah.
big
Well,
O.
that was the next thing I was going to get to was that
I'm sorry, I got ahead of
that
you.
all the plastics are all made from the byproducts that are left over from refining oil into gasoline and other fuels.
Right.
So if
Mm-hmm.
we stop using plastics, but we don't cut down on our use of gasoline and crude oil, we're just going to have all these tons of toxic sludge to dump. That's
Yeah.
where
Exactly.
the plastics industry started.
Yep.
Was the
Yeah.
oil industry was searching for what can we do with all this sludge,
Absolutely.
and some chemist at DuPont came up with making artificial nylon.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, something that I don't think people consider is that, like, I googled this just a couple minutes ago, and it's saying a study that was released on, or the article was released on June 8th, and it says 90% of plastic polluting our oceans comes from just 10 rivers. The Yangtze, the Indus, the Yellow, the Hai, the Ganges, the Pearl, the Amur, the Mekong, and then the Nile and the Niger. So 90% of the plastic in the ocean is coming from Asia and Africa.
I was
Mm-hmm.
not aware of that.
But
I'm not surprised
according to
though.
this, but like people make reuse, recycle, reproduce, all this with us, and we're probably not even responsible for 5% of what's in the ocean,
Oh,
and that's when they make a big deal. It's like, oh, it's in the ocean, it's killing the sea turtles, and it's like, yeah, but
right.
like 90% of the stuff isn't even coming from us.
Exactly. Well, this is
Yeah.
the problem that I have with pollution as a whole, like extended outside of plastics, even, is that, like, for example, when some dumbass, out on whether it's Fox News or CNN, when some dumbass asks Bernie Sanders, are you going to stop using planes? And he's like, well, no, of course not. It's not about that. And then they're like, oh, like, you're part of the problem then, and how dare you. It's like, no,
Yeah,
it's
but
not
isn't
about that. It's not about the individual. We can use all the light bulbs, and we can use electric cars, and we can carpool, and we can do all the things that we want to do. And guess what? It's not going to make a damn bit of difference, because 100 companies are responsible literally for 90% of the world's pollution. So fuck off with this individualism bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
That's my rant. Sorry.
And
Yeah,
But
and
I
you
mean,
look
also
at
it's
the
like,
governments in those places, and they don't care. They're not doing anything to solve the problems. They've got too many people to worry about.
they've
Oh
got too
yeah,
much
they're
other
making
stuff
too
that they
much
think is,
money.
and I mean, to be frank, for the random poor person living in a third world country, reusing a plastic bottle is not important to them. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's I don't want it to sound dismissive, but like concern for the environment is such a first world problem. Like we developed first world countries are the only ones that have the time and the energy to actually look at it and try and find solutions for it. When in other countries, people are just trying to figure out how they're going to how they're going to survive to the end of the day.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
also
and
those same countries where they're trying to figure out how they're going to survive day to day, they don't play a part nowhere near it that we do. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
the United States alone, like, not even including, other countries, other colonized countries, like just the United States alone contributes to so much of this problem. I know for a fact it's more than 50%. Like, it is absolutely insane the role that America plays, not to mention the raping and pillaging of other people's lands, like Africa,
yeah,
to
Yeah.
use their minerals for our electronics and our cell phones, but not giving any of that money to the locals. It lines the pockets of the politicians and the elite,
Yep.
and then we wonder why they're so angry and why they hate us. Like, really? Come on now.
Yeah.
yeah. And while the U.S. may only be responsible for 5% of the plastics in the oceans, I'm sure that's not accurate as far as the amount of disposable plastics that we go through.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure we've got to be a lot higher than that. It's just a lot of ours wind up in landfills and never make it to the ocean.
Yeah.
Right.
And really the only solution of any sorts to that, is the amount of stuff that gets into incinerators,
Mm-hmm.
which are probably the best solution as long as they make sure that the filters in the smokestacks stay up to grade. And also with the incinerators, at least usually they're producing some electrical power, so you're getting something off of burning it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Did you
and
know that there are lots of
unfortunately,
plastics that
with the
can
Trump
be
administration, I mean, the EPA exists in name only.
Yeah,
Let's not forget that. So, I mean,
yeah, I've got
unfortunately,
no
we
faith
have a
in that.
lot of pollution that I don't even know, honestly, how the hell we're going to overcome it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What were you saying, the Jen?
I forgot what I was going to say.
I do that all the time. Don't feel bad.
Uh-uh.
I have been increasingly frustrated with the recycling options that we have around here. We don't really have a place nearby. We have to drive a good 45 miles, which is almost defeating the purpose because of using the
Yeah.
gas and the fumes and all that crap. And just to find out that I don't think they're taking it to recycle. I think it's just all going into the landfill because they don't have a way to separate it.
Yep.
They've got just one big
Pretty
dumpster and
much.
all the plastic gets dumped in there.
Yep.
And from what I understand, that's a no-no because the
Any
companies won't
place
sort
that the
it.
any place that the materials are not pre-sorted, if they're having you put everything in one bin,
Yep.
they're not going to recycle it because there is no mechanical way they can separate it. It would have to be manually separated, and they're not going to pay the
Exactly.
labor for people to pick through the bin and do that.
Yeah. And
Oh,
so
because God
so now
forbid
what?
we
You
add to
know?
jobs.
And now what? Where do I take my stuff? What do I do? Just throw it in the trash? I might as well. I've been throwing it in the trash all this
Yeah.
time. So I'm like, what?
That
I'm
just seems
so
like
frustrated.
a
Go lay
placation
down.
scheme right there. Like,
Yeah.
let's let them think they're recycling it and make them feel better.
Yeah.
Angie, where do you live if you don't mind me asking? Like
I am
general.
in deep
Tex-
East Texas in the woods.
So you don't do. I mean, so what do you guys feel about like just burning trash and like you're in like a trash pit? Is that no
We do.
better?
We do somewhat, but we try to keep that down to cardboard and paper and things like that. I try not to put plastic in there because it stinks everything up and it makes this awful black smoke. And it's technically illegal where I'm at to
Yeah.
burn
Okay, well that
anything
I
that's
mean
not like yard stuff or paper.
it
Yeah,
being
same
illegal
here.
is defeats the purpose. Then that's fine. I was just
Yeah.
wondering.
Not that plastic doesn't get in there because, sometimes there's a bag or something in one of the boxes, but I do try not to. But yeah, there's
Yeah.
no, if I don't take it to Huntsville, then I have to drive an hour and a half into Houston to find the next nearest place for
Oh
recycling.
my goodness.
And that completely defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
now China's not taking our recycling anymore. Do you know
Mm.
that? Our recycling, our stuff is too dirty. They don't want our stuff anymore.
What?
Yeah, that's new.
Oh my
Our stuff is
gosh.
too dirty. If you, there was a place if you had pizza boxes had to have the grease spots in the middle ripped out before they were put in the recycling bin, and
Oh
there was all
my
this.
God.
Well,
Come
it's
the
you can
fuck
blame it all on Lord
on.
Feltersnatch and all his crazy tariffs and all his bullshit with China because they're like, well, screw you, we just won't take your trash
I love,
anymore.
I love.
We're just not gonna take your
Somebody
trash.
please put that as a clip.
Lord Feltersnatch.
Yes.
My favorite one is somebody called him Trumperdink.
My tongue just refuses to form that word that is his name, so I
That
just
is
call him Lord
beautiful.
Feltersnatch.
That's beautiful. You know, we need Bernie as president. Like, quick. Quick, quick, quick. Because, goddamn,
Bernie's history. He'll
we're
never
going to
survive
hell.
this heart
Anyway,
thing.
Mm,
a physical
Bernie's not
hell,
gonna.
not a spiritual
Bernie's
hell.
not gonna be the president.
Nope, not a chance.
Nope.
Stop ruining hope. You
I
never know.
love Bernie. Don't get me wrong. I love Bernie, and I
You never
voted for
know.
him last time around, but he can't do it now.
He
He can't.
can. He
He
can.
can't.
I
Yeah, but
believe.
that's not what
I
the public's going to
believe,
see.
baby.
The public's going to
I
see a
believe.
78-year-old man
And
who
I still
just
have
had a heart
some level
attack.
of hope in the American people to do the right thing as
Look,
well. So,
almost any of the current batch of Democrats would be better than Trump. So I mean,
Well, yeah, there's that, but
I'm letting the
this is true.
Democrat. I mean, at this point,
This is
I
very true.
I
But
have
I'm
no.
so sick of the establishment. Like, I really am. They're not solving anything, and they never do.
Mm-hmm.
well, it's not going to change until we get the big money out of politics. Until then,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to elect whoever the media says they want.
Well, I don't know.
That's exactly my
They're working
problem.
awful hard to
Right
keep
there.
transgender people out of bathrooms now. It's,
Mm.
Yeah,
until
that's so
America wakes
absurd.
the fuck up and
It's so
realizes.
absurd.
Well, I can't completely blame the media because the one thing is that people will always vote for whoever promises not to raise their taxes,
which is
but
bullshit.
then they will complain that the level of services are declining
Yep. And it's like,
because they
where do you
can't
think
raise
these
the
things come
taxes to
from,
keep up
bitch?
with inflation, so then they've got to cut services.
Yeah. Like
Hmm.
when I see people, complaining about taxes while simultaneously complaining that their
Their roads
schools
are
don't
shit.
have
Yeah,
updated books and their roads are shitty, I'm like,
yeah.
did you think there was a road fairy? Do you think there's a school fairy? Like, are you back at home with mommy and daddy and you think that they magically clean the house by little fairies and magic at night? Is that what we're doing now? Like, no, bitch. What do you think taxes are for? That's what they go toward.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I,
there's
I think that's a big problem is I think people need to understand what the taxes are going for, both in general, that
Hmm.
people need an education on how our system works,
Oh, hell yeah.
but also that I think it needs to be more transparent that the government
Yes.
basically needs to show people the books so that they can see, how much of the money is going for
Hmm.
roads, what's going for police and so forth,
I s-
I
rather than just this
totally,
kind of vague thing of all the money's thrown into one big pot and
yeah,
then they selectively fund what they feel like funding this week.
I
Yeah, because
totally
that's
agree.
that's part of the issue. Part of the issue too is people just don't understand how much we bring in taxes and how
Hmm.
much we're spending. I've had conversations with people who've gotten all pissed off because they're sending such and such country such and such $1 million, and I'm like, you do realize that that's like less than a cent of your tax dollars, right?
yeah.
Exactly.
Because they
Exactly.
don't understand the scope of how much tax money's brought in and how much of it is wasted by like military funding compared to like other
Yep.
Oh my
nations.
God,
You
don't
could
even
cut
get
the
me
military
started
in
on military
half
funding.
and it would still be too much. Like, it's so, oh my god, I want to rage out so bad, but I won't. Anyway, but no, I totally agree. America in general, we are in great need of education on how our country works because the amount of citizens that do not understand the ins and outs of our democracy and how it actually functions
Yeah.
is actually scary. Like,
Well,
legit
and
scary.
it basically it kind of is in a perpetual loop,
Yeah.
because yeah, they keep cutting the funding for the public schools,
Mm-hmm.
which means people don't get a decent education, which means they
Yep.
don't understand how the system works.
Which is interesting to me, right? Because, follow. Okay, so off the train of what you're saying, it's a loop, right? And we agree on that. And follow that to notice how schools are always the very first place where funding is cut. And I don't think that that is an accident, and I don't think that that is a coincidence. They want, America wants to keep its people stupid. At least the elitists do. Because if you're stupid, you're not going to catch on to the fact that they're the problem. You're
Yeah,
not going to catch on to the fact that you shouldn't elect them or you shouldn't vote them back in.
a functional democracy only works with well-educated populace.
Precisely.
Exactly.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it's one of those
Keep the
things I
people
see.
stupid and they'll keep you in office.
Well, I think it's a big key for how they get, particularly low-income people to be voting against their own
Mm,
interest.
that's what I've always said. Yep.
That's where I wasn't. Let me clarify. I wasn't exactly blaming the media, but if you look at, well, every
Oh, they play
election
a
that's been
part for
held since
sure.
I was 18 years old has been whoever gets the most exposure, whoever gets the
Yeah.
most attention, whoever gets the most whoever does the thing that is the most newsworthy,
Hmm.
those are the people who get elected. And it doesn't matter if it's for something good or something bad. I mean, you know,
Oh,
George
there's
Bush
definitely
was
a
a dumb
bias.
idiot and he said the stupidest thing. And stupidest stuff, just dumb stuff, completely ridiculous, uneducated stuff. And he got to be president, for heaven's sake,
Yeah,
because the
well,
media loved him for saying all that stupid stuff. And they did the same thing with Donald Trump. They absolutely loved him. If you go look
He
at the
was newsworthy,
statistic,
is what
yeah,
he was.
and he
You
got
know times
all
are
the coverage.
bad when you miss Bush. Because I'm just saying, I miss Bush like a motherfucker, and I hated that man like, ooh, with a burning passion. But
well,
I miss him. I really do. Like,
actually, Reagan even
fuck.
said it himself that it didn't matter what they said about him. If they showed a picture of him smiling over the news anchor's shoulder, his ratings went up,
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
he was the very
regardless of what the
first.
story was talking about.
He was the first president I ever voted for.
Math Pig's got a good point. The squeaky wheel is always heard.
Yep,
Very true.
and
And
because I blame not the media, but I blame the people, the stupidity of our country as in general, that they just
Mm-hmm.
believe that crap. They believe whatever's fed to them off the network neighborhood news.
I agree. Because, I mean, even though our education system is in a horrible decline,
Oh, it's
you have
horrible.
people like me, and I'm sure not just me, but everyone, every single person that's on this panel right now, and probably everyone that's in chat as well, who goes out and educates themselves.
Hmm.
We don't just sit here like empty, vessels, like, no. Like, we go and we research and we look at things for ourselves.
Yeah,
You don't
and
have to have a formal education to actually be educated.
Oh my gosh, no. School doesn't make you smart.
No,
That's no.
not at all.
I know a lot of educated people, very well educated people, who cannot even function daily because they're just so ignorant.
Right? I was just going to say, I know a lot of well educated people that can barely tie their shoes. But,
Neil
Right?
I mean,
Buscaglia said some of the stupidest people I know have PhDs.
No
right?
joke. That's so
So
true.
true.
Georgia
Yes.
Purdom, cough, cough.
Yeah,
And the more they brag about, oh, I'm a genius, or I'm so smart, or I have this, that, or the other degree, the
Oh,
dumber they
that's my
usually
yeah.
are.
favorite. Yeah, that's my favorite Trump quote
Oh, yeah, if they
is
have to
big
point it
brain
out, that's.
genius. I'm
Yeah,
like, big brain. Wait, what? Big brain genius. Yeah,
with
only a
small
dumbass
hands.
like Trump can come up with.
High IQ research.
Oh, shit. Oh,
Hi,
God.
Maya.
Like, you
Oh,
could
we've got
have an
quite a crowd in here
entire
And
tonight.
merch
Santa's
line.
here.
Yeah, we got a big
Everybody.
showing tonight.
Yes.
It's hell to be popular, ain't it, Purple?
Well, I actually, for a while, I was beginning to wonder, if there were enough people interested for me to keep doing this every week.
We missed you while you
Yes.
were gone
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
for release.
Yeah. Well, I should be able to do it, you know, this month every Thursday except for the 17th
Okay.
because
You've got that sci-fi
yeah, I
convention, right?
yeah, there's a science fiction gaming convention in Minneapolis
Uh,
that is actually put on by an LGBT group.
Yeah, that sounds awesome as fuck.
try, try. I'm sorry, I'm gonna butcher the name. Triatol. I don't even know. Triatail.
Triatail.
Yep.
Tria.
Triatail. Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about. I wanted to talk about that, but Purple said next week or another time, rather.
Oh gosh, no, I
Well,
don't want to
that's
talk about
if
that.
people really want to talk about that, we
Oh
pretty much covered the
god,
plastics thing already, I
no.
think.
I'm just
Kill
kidding
me
for the
now.
most part. It's just we're talking. We talked about we were just saying something about doctors that are dumb, and then that kind of would
Yeah.
have segued into that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was Pirate Kitty that was saying that, like Georgia Purdom, that she went and got her doctorate just so that she could seem to have some credibility.
Yeah.
While pushing their young
That's
Earth
just
creationist and bull.
Yeah.
oh my god. The stupid is so strong.
But the thing that always irritates me about that kind of a thing is they'll be like, oh, it's Dr. Joe. And then Dr. Joe will talk about something. It's like, well, does Joe's doctorate have anything to do with what he's talking about? Because if not, I really don't give a flying flip if he's a doctor or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, just because somebody is intelligent does not mean they have any information on a particular subject.
Hmm. And it doesn't mean they're right either.
True.
I mean, like, yeah.
I still think people say stuff like that just to get attention. Surely she can't be that ignorant. Or it's just narcissism.
I think it's a combination.
I saw somebody said something really smart about it. If you don't find me attractive, then you're phobic.
Hey,
It's
Russ.
like, oh please.
Yeah, well, I,
Yeah.
I was saying that the only time I've heard that argument, it always boiled down to that.
That was you. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew I just saw it recently.
Well,
So
there's been
so
like
does
3, 4 times that I've heard the similar argument, and it always came down to the same thing: was
Yeah.
that if you don't side with me, then you're whatever phobic.
Yeah.
Hmm.
so does that mean anybody who doesn't find me attractive is fat phobic and blonde phobic too?
Right?
Probably.
Exactly. And
I
are they
guess
old
everyone
phobic?
that
Because I'm old,
Right. I was just gonna say everyone that doesn't find me attractive or everyone that doesn't want to bang me, you guys are all brunette phobic and
I mean,
skinny phobic. So how dare you? Like
I
you
mean, I
must find me fuckable, god damn it. Like how
Right.
dare you not find me fuckable? Like what the
I
hell
can
is that? Come on now. Get over yourself. What is oh my god, I can't even take myself seriously right now. Like come on.
I mean, I can kind of understand, like, you're at a bar and you're hitting on this chick and she's pretty and you're into her, and then you find out she's trans and then suddenly you're not interested. Okay, maybe there's a little bit of transphobia going on in that
Sure,
situation,
that's actually a very
but
good example of the way that we're socialized and how it relates to transphobia. Go ahead. I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah, I
no,
agree.
that's fine. I basically finished what I was saying.
Okay, but
I
no, I
don't think it
mean
has
we are
anything.
socialized in a specific way. I do think that you can make a cohesive argument that feeds into maybe not malicious transphobia, but transphobia nonetheless.
What were you going to say, Angie?
I don't want to say anything else.
Oh, by
I
all
don't want to
means,
say
go ahead.
anything else. No, I don't want to say anything else. I don't.
Well, apparently it just boils down to you must find everyone fuckable at all times and you must want to fuck them. Otherwise you are phobic of something.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I have nothing else to add. Like that says it. What else? This person is an idiot. I don't care whether they got PhD.
Well, you know
Frustrated
what's
Stupid.
atheist says, if you don't find me attractive, you are probably smart.
If
Yeah, Bub said
you
if
don't
you
find
find
me
me
attractive,
attractive,
you
you
have
need your eyes
eyes.
checked.
you know what's really frustrating about this whole thing that you're just talking about
We got a lot
is
of
that
What
intelligent
is?
people in
the
this
trans
community,
the
so
trans community is tearing itself up from the inside out
I
about
like them
this,
all. I'm good. I'm done.
which
It's
I
so
can't help
sad.
but think it was part of the
I just
plan.
don't. I'm just not attracted to stupid. Like that's my thing.
I agree, Jen, and it's really sad to see
Yeah.
it happening because when they turn on each other, you
Exactly,
know,
exactly.
how,
Well, and I
I know
think
that
Jen's
there's people
right.
who consider me to be
Mm-hmm.
transphobic because of some of the things that I say and feel, and I talk only from my own
Absolutely.
personal experience and my own personal feelings. I
My
don't
thing
try
is,
to I don't try to tell people
Stop
how they
this
should feel
lady.
about themselves.
my thing with the whole accusation of being transphobic is the person that you're talking with actually got any power to affect your life? And if the answer
Right.
is no, If the answer is no, like I could see maybe making a big deal if your senator, your mayor, your
Mm-hmm.
principal or something was acting that way. But if it's just another kid in your class or a coworker, it's like you can't affect you don't have an effect on my life. I don't really care what you think.
Right.
Right? Exactly.
And
I think
nobody
more
has the
people
right to
need to
tell
adopt that line of
anybody else
thinking.
how to live,
Mm-hmm.
ever. And
Absolutely.
what kills me is these are the very same people who are constantly all about, don't tell me how to live. I am who I am. I can be who I want to be. I can choose what I like.
Yeah.
And now they're turned right around and tell, no, but you can't. It's so
Yep.
hypocritical. It
That's why I
completely
got so
hypocritical,
mad. Like on Twitter, I was like, "Excuse me, isn't this the exact thing we're trying to fight against?
right?
Hmm. So the same thing.
Like, why are you making this argument? We're trying to fight against these types of stereotypes and stigmas, not for them. Come on now."
Yeah, I've always been baffled by how it is that minority communities can manage to push some of the people further out on the fringe.
Mm-hmm.
And what's bothered me is I've seen it go through this fight just so many times in my own life. Just through the 70s for women's lib,
Mm-hmm.
in the 80s, they started the gay lesbian movement, but they didn't really want to include bisexuals,
Yep.
Hmm.
and it's just,
It's a process.
and in the 60s, it was, racial integration. But the thing is, we keep fighting the same battle over and over. It's just a different group of people we're pushing out.
Mm-hmm.
And why can't we just, you know, fuck whatever label or pigeonhole you stick people into? Why
Exactly.
can't we just treat all people the same?
Amen, brother. Preach it,
Mm-hmm.
Why
purple.
why is that so difficult a concept for people to grasp?
Hallelujah.
I
Because
think it's because
humans want an other. Like they do. It's disgusting and it sucks, but
Yeah.
humans want a other
Well,
to blame the bad shit on, to blame the shit that goes wrong on, to put, you know what I mean? Whatever their beef is in life, they need and they want a other to blame.
Yeah.
well, we did evolve as small
What the heck was that?
that was a useful survival strategy. But supposedly, we're rational enough creatures to realize that this no longer serves us well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If we can figure out that slavery is bad, I'm pretty sure we can figure out that marginalizing groups of people is bad. You
Yep.
know, but my thing is there's a it kind of goes to that question you asked me not too long ago about is social media a good thing or a bad thing? When people get a platform to spew ignorance,
Mm-hmm.
it can make it seem like it's bigger and more um what's the word I'm
More
looking for?
important than it really
Yeah,
is.
than it really
Yeah.
is.
Mm-hmm.
Just because someone has 100,000 followers on their Twitter, that doesn't mean all of those people agree with what that person is saying. I'll give you about half of them are people who want to argue with what
Yep.
they're saying.
Yeah.
So,
Well, but that's the thing that the internet has done with Facebook and Twitter and such, that, basically any idiot in their basement can go and throw something on Facebook and know that a couple thousand people are going to read it.
well,
Yep.
that and they can make a couple of thousand accounts of their own. You know, uh,
Yeah,
there's
if they
so
want to
many.
put some effort into it, they can have 100,000 people see it. But I mean, with
Well,
no
that's
effort at
what's.
all, you can just assume that a couple thousand people are going to see it.
Well, as best I can tell, that's what's going on in the flat earthers thing. There's not as many of them as they claim to be.
Right.
There's a lot of repetition and rotation.
Yeah, there
And
obviously aren't. Did you see the thing about the Flat Earth tour?
uh-uh.
Oh,
Mm-mm. No.
um, Creaky Blinder and Simon Dan have been covering it. That in the UK, some group organized a Flat Earth tour that they were driving this van around and like holding a bunch of conferences, which they claimed were all going to be sold out, and then it's like they show a picture of the last one, and it's like, yeah, they set up a couple hundred chairs, and there's a few dozen people actually in there.
Yeah, they say there's maybe upwards of 5,000 quote flat earthers who are active on the internet. That's
Oh,
not counting people who, don't know, or maybe they're watching the videos and they're not really
yeah,
commenting or saying anything, but the ones who are active and actively posting and actively commenting and sharing and all that kind of stuff are a really tiny group.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
But I've
Well,
noticed that our community is like super focused on this tiny group of people when there's a whole lot bigger problems out there than people with flat earth ideas.
Agreed.
Well, flat Earth got the views for a while, and that's the sad
Yeah,
fact of it.
Maybe
it's
It's like
that's
the
it.
weird.
same thing, but the same thing happened with that Make America Straight Again conference. You know, they were talking about
Gee.
how oh, it's going to be standing room only, blah 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 blah. We're going to have
It
so many
never
And there was
is.
like
people,
10 people, 30 people there total,
right?
yeah,
including the leaders. Like,
Yeah.
most of them were the people that were actually directly associated with making the stupid thing. Like,
yeah.
Nerdy says,
uh,
and 10 of those present were laughing. Right?
10
Yeah.
president laugh.
Point,
You know,
laugh, point and laugh.
although you have to consider, you know, did we have an influence on that by focusing on that? Did we get some people to realize how absurd it was? And
Well,
would they
it's
have
not
had three times as
new,
many people attending if we hadn't said anything about it?
but it's not new. It's something that's been around for a long time, and it's never gotten any real good foothold. It had a little resurgence, and then
Yeah,
it kind of died out, and then it got
Yeah.
another little boost, and it kind of died out, and then it's got, it comes and goes. There's always a few stragglers that hang on to it, but I think social media has been the thing that makes it seem like they're more influential than they really are,
yeah,
because I don't think
Well, and
people.
this is where I think that like social responsibility is important, or
Hmm.
individual responsibility rather is important, because like,
Oh yeah,
especially if you're going to say, hey, this over here is a problem, don't become part of the problem. That's all I'm saying. If you're
right.
out there screaming to the high heavens, that 10 are a problem,
Yeah,
don't become part of the problem, because by screaming to the heavens that 10 people are such a massive problem, what you're doing is literally
Drawing attention to
handing
them.
them exactly
yep.
them
Magnifying
the
their
very
platform.
audience that you don't want them to have. So don't do
Right.
it.
Well, that's something that a lot of the atheist YouTubers now are having to consider
Mm-hmm.
is by talking about this person, am I going to be giving them more attention?
Yes.
Correct.
I was just watching this video um by Jacqueline Glenn. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with her or not, but
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
about this woman called Mrs. Midwest. And she's like,
Oh yeah,
I'm
I
worried.
watched it.
You watched it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's concerned,
Mm-hmm.
like,
I did.
she doesn't have an audience. She doesn't have a huge audience. If I start talking about her, is that going to help grow her audience? It,
Absolutely. Yes, it
Hi,
will.
Tony. It could, and I think, like I said, a lot of times the what we see as a large audience is really a, a a trail of people who have come to tell them what an idiot they are. If you go and, if
Yeah.
people say don't ever read the comments, sometimes you should, and go in there and see how many of them are agreeing and how many of them are not, how many of them been hidden or blocked or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Uh,
Absolutely.
it's if it's a really big problem, then it probably should be addressed. But I think there are a lot of other things to focus on
Yeah,
that are
you're right.
definitely more
It's a
serious.
double-edged sword in that regard, because you have some of these people, it's more along the lines of like what you just said. The only reason they have an audience is literally people making fun of, you're just
Yeah,
there to watch the train wreck, which I never personally understood that, but whatever. Not my
it's
monkey,
not my
not my
thing, but
circus, whatever.
yeah.
yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, like,
But
if you want to go after somebody,
and
go
then on
after
the
the
flip
damn
side,
anti-vaxxers. They're killing
right,
kids. They're killing
right.
people. Go
No,
after the
no
damn
fucking
anti-vaxxers
kidding.
with a freaking vengeance. I will back you all up 100%.
yeah.
Yes.
You know,
Well, Nerdy
but
asked, it may grow their audience, but wouldn't it be people disagreeing?
But yeah,
I was
but the
gonna say on
algorithms
the
don't
flip
care.
side,
The
on the
algorithms of on social media don't care whether it's somebody agreeing with them or not. All it sees is hits and comments, and it
Yeah.
serves that stuff to more people. Same thing
Right.
on YouTube. If you're watching that video from beginning to end, it gets it in the algorithm and it sends it out to more people
and
every
that's where
time
you
it gets
get
watched.
the flip side is you'll have it start out as having an audience that's only mocking them, and that's the only audience they have. The more clicks and views and interaction they get on their channel, the more their channel gets recommended to others, and
Right.
eventually it goes down the YouTube pipeline where people who and people who have very specific types of brains start watching it and they become radicalized by it, and then they start sharing that around to the other people that are in their circle, and
Yeah.
it gets radical groups that exist.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that's just like this crazy PhD doctor that shared this offensive, horrible, stupid, ignorant tweet. I I don't follow that person, but I've seen that tweet 1,000 times because everybody's retweeted it and shared it and retweeted it and shared it so many times that everybody's seen it now. Whereas if it had just
Yeah.
ignored that crap, it probably wouldn't have spread like wildfire. Now she's gotten all this attention and she's going to write a book
Well,
I
and make a
agree
dollar.
with you, and I
Twitter's
agree
a
with
little
what
bit.
Bub just said in the side chat. That's a big
Mhm.
problem. Why I don't do response videos. I
Oh
hate the
yeah,
process of making them as well, but I give these people a new and sometimes bigger platform, and that's very true. Like
Well, but the thing with Twitter's slightly different because when
Twitter's
like
a shitstorm.
oh well yes Twitter's a switch
yeah,
that goes without saying. But if Purple says something stupid and I quote tweet him with my own comment, I'm sending that message to my audience with my take on it. And then my audience can respond with a similar or their take. But it's
Mhm.
not going to take that tweet to Jen and have Jen see it without my comment, and Jen
Yes.
be like, "Oh yeah, this makes perfect sense." Whereas with YouTube, if Purple makes a stupid comment and I do a response and Angie does a response and people go and they start disliking that video, it ends up in the algorithm, and then random people who've got no idea what's going on see it as a recommended video. They watch it and they're like, "Oh, hey, this is a good idea." You know?
yeah.
So
Hmm.
that's why I think responding on Twitter is probably a bit different
Yeah.
from responding on Facebook, YouTube itself.
Oh, I completely. Yeah, they are different, completely different beasts and completely different types of responses as well. The like you pointed out, the way you respond on Twitter, the nature to which that works is very different to the nature and the algorithm and the way that YouTube works when you do a response there. So I
Mhm.
guess at the end of the day, it's just kind of the question that I ask myself and that I would ask other people to ask themselves is just, is this helpful? Is it useful? And is it worth it? Answer to that question in your eyes is yes to all of them, then go ahead and do it. But if the answer is need caution, and maybe not.
Yeah, that's why I've decided if I finally do finish writing any of these ideas that are in my head for videos, um, it's not going to be me responding to someone specifically. It's going to be me piggybacking off of an idea,
Mm-hmm.
maybe like
Mm-hmm.
like I have a video in my head right now that's just kind of rolling around about the word arbitrary,
Yeah,
and
you want to
so
do the same thing that I've said I would do. Like I don't want to so much respond to an individual or an individual video
so much
as
the idea behind it.
exactly. I have a lot of response videos planned that are about the idea, and I
Yeah.
won't be mentioning the person or the channel or anything. It's just solely, here's a bad idea. I'm going to refute this bad idea. Listen to me refute this bad idea.
Exactly.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
way
I
I'm
don't
not
want to get
giving
into doing
anyone else
response
power.
videos either, but yeah, like you say, that's a different thing that if you're just dealing with the concept and not dealing with the
Hmm.
particular videos.
I think that's a great idea, honestly. Unless someone really does, unless it's somebody, for example, I think we can all agree when someone has a large audience, nothing you do is going to fucking change that. They have a lot. If someone has 1 million subscribers, they have 1 million subscribers. Like, there's nothing you can say or do that's going to fucking change the difference between you
Well,
two.
That's
So
true.
I think that I don't think there's necessarily anything inherently wrong about making a response video, especially to someone with such a large influence. I think that the power dynamic there totally shifts this topic on its head to reverse it almost.
yeah.
So the only time that it's bad, in my view, is if your argument is bad. Because then you make yourself look stupid and you make the other person look smart when they're really not smart.
Right. That's like one of those things that I wish that they would bring back on YouTube. I don't know if you guys have
Oh
been around
yeah, the
long enough
response
where
feature.
response, like if Purple made a
Mm-hmm.
video and I made a response, my video would show up under Purple's video.
Yeah.
You couldn't he couldn't hide it from his audience, and I think
Yep.
that being available again would be a great thing for specifically for channels that are discussing ideas and concepts.
Yeah,
Because
YouTube's not going to do that because
I
I can
know.
immediately see how that would get abused.
Right.
Because then basically
People
anybody
can
could
use
do a
it for targeted
response to a video on one of
harassment.
the corporate channels,
Oh
and it
yeah,
gets,
shit, that too.
it would get me with only like 225 subscribers a way that my video would be seen on a channel that's got 3 million subscribers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
The thing that I wrestle with is like, I'm always saying, if I could just so easily abandon all my ethics, I would be a rich bitch in 2 seconds flat. But
Yep.
unfortunately, I just can't do that. Like, I mean, more power to the people with no ethics, I guess.
Yeah.
But
I keep saying
it's
that.
good for your pocketbook, I guess. But
Yeah.
I just don't know how you look yourself in the mirror like that. Like I would never be able to sell myself out like that and be able to live with myself no matter how much money I made.
Yep. I keep saying that if I didn't have the ethics,
Mm-hmm.
I spent 25 years in the pagan community and I can throw all that in a blender and, you know,
Right?
whip out a spiel on some woo that
Oh
I could
yeah, you
probably
and me
have a YouTube
both.
I could probably have a
Mm-hmm.
YouTube channel that I could get a couple $1,000s a month off of Patreon.
Right? Not to mention start shilling for some of the products and,
Oh yeah.
oh yeah. No, I feel you there. Like I don't know, it's very maddening sometimes because you look at all these people with all of this money and you're just like, that they're BSing and that they know it's a lie,
Oh
but the
hell yeah.
audience believes it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why
Hey,
I hate
Purple, let's
society.
start our own cult.
I'm gonna start my own cult,
Oh,
damn it, the cult of Lena.
We'll call it the rock and roll Triceratops cult. That'll be it.
Actually I've been trying to promote the Church of the Cephalopod.
Oh, I love it.
Sorry,
It's
I'm a
what you get.
cardinal in sexual. I'm a cardinal of sexual humanism. So
I still haven't figured out what the hell that is.
I'm down
okay,
with some sexual humanism,
do you
y'all.
want me to tell you what it is?
Please.
So
I'm down.
this is a church, quote unquote. I'm doing air quotes, that Shannon Q started in response to Bodie Hodge, who is
Mm-hmm.
Kent. No,
Kent
Ken
Hovind, right?
Ham. No, Ken
Yeah.
Oh, is
Ham,
it
not
Ken
Kent
Ham?
Hovind. Ken Ham's son-in-law. And he does this thing like whenever they're talking about humanism and something to do with the LGBTQ or
Oh,
GSRM,
that's right.
he says sexual humanism,
Mm-hmm.
trying to pair the idea that sex is bad and humanism is bad, so they're together they're so much worse. So Shannon Q started this church of sexual humanism, and she just started ordaining people. She did a thing with on Teespring where she put out a line of stuff.
Yeah, I saw
T-shirts,
that happening.
bags.
I
Yep.
just didn't know where it came from.
Yeah, it came from
Thank you
Answers
for
to
clearing that up for me.
Genesis. Yeah, she donated almost, I think, $5,000 to a Kentucky LGBTQ college fund to do a scholarship to send an LGBT kid in Kentucky to school.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Thank you for explaining that for me.
But I have no social life. So when I'm not at work, I'm at home on my computer and I'm on Twitter. So I know all the drama.
I get so confused
I
because I'm
wanna
still new and
be
I don't know
ordained by
everybody.
Shannon.
Just ping her or Navardia um Twitter and they will give you something. You just have to give them an idea of what you wanted.
Or yeah, you can pick your
Yeah.
own, I think, too.
Yeah,
I've seen there's like, can I be this? And they're like,
I
sure, go
wanna
ahead.
be the kink goddess of sexual humanism.
So
Yeah.
tweet one of them and see what they say. They may have given it out or something like that. But yeah, I am
Well, I
technically
sometimes stream with Narvadia, so
I
I might
think
just
pretty
ask her the
much,
next time I
yeah.
see her on stream.
If you come up with a title that isn't taken, they'll give it to you.
Shannon came up with mine because I basically said something like I'm asexual, so I don't fit in here. And she's like, "Yes, you do." And then she's like, "You are the cardinal of consensually desired affection." And I'm like,
Hell
"Okay."
yes. I love it. I love that. That's great. Yeah, people are constantly confused by me, which I guess is partly my fault and partly their fault, but and society's fault. But because like I talk about BDSM and kink a lot, and people are constantly like whether it's in my DMs or whether it's like publicly in comments or something, people are constantly associating me and what I'm speaking about directly with sex, and I'm like, guys, I don't use sex in BDSM like at all ever. My scenes are not sexual, and like, no, that's not a thing I do. I'm sorry. Like, I'm
Right.
sorry to disappoint you. I'm sorry to dash your hopes and dreams or whatever fantasies you're fapping to over there.
Yeah.
But like, it's not a thing.
Well,
Like,
and
not
that's a
shaming
message
anybody
that
for
you
that
have to get
either.
out there because it's a concept that, yeah, is not going to occur to most people.
Which is
That you
weird
would
to
do that
me.
without it being a
Cause
sexual
like
thing.
I know so many people that are the same way. You know, like I know tons of kinksters that, you know, fuck, they've been in the lifestyle longer than I've been alive.
Yeah.
And
But,
they
I
never
mean,
incorporate sex into their, you know, their scene. Like
look
it's
how
just
little the public at large knows about the kink community at all, or
this
even
is
that it
true.
exists.
Yeah.
Speaking, if you don't mind, speaking of the kink community, Silver, do you
Mm,
know anything about the David Silverman case?
yes,
Yeah.
I've
What do you?
heard just
Mhm.
enough. Not enough to really like.
Have a formed opinion? Okay, just
Yeah,
wondering.
because I don't like. Okay, I don't like drama,
Mm,
and I'm it at first when I first started listening to it. It's it sounded like legitimate, you know, concern, and people had worries and issues, and I understood those concerns and worries.
mhm,
Then it very quickly nosedived from legitimate concerns and questions into just straight up slander and drama and let me make a name for myself on the back of other people.
mhm,
And like people literally started channels, you know, talking about this. They got tons of views. So
mhm,
again, like not shaming anybody. That's just not my monkey, not my circus,
mhm.
not my thing. But I don't know. I would like to know, like, if anybody wants to share their opinion. I would very much like to know, like, what you guys think and why. Because like I said, I started keeping up with it in the beginning, and then I kind of stopped whenever it started devolving into drama shit.
Well, he did an interview with Armin Navi I think that's how it's
Oh,
pronounced.
I didn't know that.
On the Atheist Republic channel, and
Oh.
basically he was saying, like, you know that clip where she says, "I did this, and this," and he's like, "Yeah, all that happened." But she makes it sound like it happened in 5 minutes, and it was spanned over a 5-hour period. It was a BDSM role play that she was totally into. And
Mm.
it's a big, long interview where he basically went into all the details of it,
I'll
and
have to listen to that because
yeah,
I didn't
it's
know that he did an interview. I thought he was still like kind of being quiet on it.
no,
Um,
he's well, in this interview, he's talking about depression and suicidal thoughts and all that jazz. But yeah,
mm,
apparently he's back. He's got a new channel. I'm not 100% sure what to think about it, but what he
okay.
said made sense.
And
I don't know.
who was the interview with again?
It was on the Atheist Republic channel.
Atheist Republic. Okay. Well, I'm subscribed to them, so it shouldn't be hard I can't talk, so it shouldn't be hard to me for fun. But yeah, I'm glad you told me. I will definitely when I have some free time, I will definitely check out that interview and see what I think about it.
Mm. Holy Kool-Aid came up with this, or maybe he didn't come up with it, but he came up with, or he shared this administration's version of "Thanks, Obama."
Oh,
It's now "Damn it, Donald."
right. Yes. So true. So true. You know, like for such an incompetent piece of shit fool, that man has like I can't decide whether he has balls of steel or his dementia is just that bad. Whenever the day that Mueller testifies, you go on to commit the same crime with a new country. Like, what the fuck, man?
No, it's, he said it during his campaign that he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue
It's,
and it
yeah,
wouldn't hurt his,
yeah.
wouldn't hurt his ratings.
Well, so far, that is actually proving false because his base is being shooken up. And they are getting divisive on this issue. Like, there is some, because people, especially depending on what state, people are taking notice that his promises were empty and full of shit. He hasn't brought back coal. He hasn't brought back steel. The mining companies aren't there. These towns are still impoverished. These towns are still going nowhere.
Yeah,
And people have taken notice. And so he doesn't have their undying loyal support anymore.
he still does though.
For a lot, but
Roughly a third of the population are still blindly following him.
Yeah, but
That
even in the places where he has the most support, Bernie still, it was true in 2016 and it's true today. Bernie still wins every single district Trump won, landslides over Trump,
yeah,
which speaks volumes to me. And it should speak volumes to the American public at large and tell you something.
yeah, but the Democrats will never endorse Bernie.
It should speak volumes to the Democrats, too. I'm sorry, but the establishment's days are
Yeah,
numbered.
but the
They
problem
can
is
do
that
whatever they want to
Bernie is
do, but
not a
their days are
Democrat.
numbered.
Yeah, but Bernie is not a Democrat. He's an independent.
running as
And
a
the
Democrat.
DNC is scared shitless that on some critical piece of legislation, he may decide to do the right thing instead of towing the party line.
Oh,
So
because
they will never give him a position of power.
he absolutely would do the right thing because he's the only one with a consistent, habitual voting record of being on the right side of history.
Yeah,
Well, is it true? I don't know if you guys heard it, but I had heard something about the Democrats censuring a Democrat who was being reasonable or something. I'd have to look it up.
I
Did anybody
think
hear
I
anything like
might,
that?
yeah, yeah, I think I might know what you're talking about. Are you talking about the woman that spoke up in a official, I think it was congressional meeting,
Maybe.
and they censored her? I'm
I
not
don't
sure
know
if it's
about
the
a
same story
specific
or not.
case, but it's not really an uncommon thing,
Yeah, it
for
happens
the
on both
Democrats
sides.
to be muting people who were trying to say something that is, popular with the public, but
But the
not actually part of the
Democrats'
party
main,
platform.
yeah, but the Democrats' main message, especially for this campaign, is we must beat Trump. That's the most important thing. Okay, well, if you really want to beat Trump, the best way to do that is with Bernie, and every single poll shows it. So don't talk to me about this, that, the third. Don't talk to me about party lines. Don't talk about blah 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 blah. Like what it really comes down to is they're scared to death of their big money and their big corruption no longer
Yep.
ruling the country. That is what they are really afraid of.
They would rather have Trump get reelected if it was the way to ensure they
Mm-hmm.
would continue to get the money from the
Yep.
lobbyists.
Absolutely. 100. Yep. I agree. And that's disgusting.
Yeah, it was an Arizona Senator, Kristen Sinemi. I'm bad with names.
Yeah. Yeah. I know who you're talking about. I don't know how to say her last name either.
Yeah.
They were going to censor because we want her to vote like a Democrat rather than supporting Trump half the time.
Silver, I
Yeah.
completely agree with what you said, but if Bernie doesn't become the nominee, it is still essential that Trump lose,
Agreed.
and that we have to keep that in mind and do whatever we have to do to make sure he loses. Now,
Oh, don't
I'm
get
a
me
Bernie
wrong.
supporter,
I
and I
won't
want
vote
him all
Trump.
the way. But there's so many who will, just out of spite, and
Oh,
that's
no,
what
no,
we have
no.
to fight.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm
Well,
with
I hope
you
this.
a
I hope
100% on that. I will totally, whoever the hell the nominee is, I will totally vote the
Right. Well,
nominee, not Trump. I'm not one of those
okay.
people that's going to be a dumbass and vote for Trump out of spite.
And the problem is we're going to have the same thing that played out in the last election. You're going to have one third of the people voting
Yep,
for Trump, one third of the people voting against Trump. But unless the Democrats put up a candidate that people really actually like, a third of the
exactly.
people are just going to not bother to vote.
Yep.
Yeah, this is why.
yeah,
This is
I've
why
already
that
heard them talking about it.
election.
If it's not who I want, I'm not going to vote.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yep,
So
matter.
that's going to
Oh,
leave the
fuck
election
that
pretty much
shit.
up to be a coin flip at that point.
yep. And this
I
is
got.
why I say he's the only sure way to beat Trump because he empowers people to get out and vote.
Yeah.
People don't want to pick the lesser of two evils anymore. They're
But I'm
sick of
afraid the
it.
Democrat, the DNC, the organizing committee is going to be
Mm-hmm.
so certain that so many
Yeah.
people are going to vote against Trump that they're going to be convinced it doesn't matter who they run.
Yeah, well, I mean, Democrats are, if they are good at one thing, it's fucking their own selves.
Oh yeah, they shoot themselves in the foot all the time.
Yeah.
Folks need to realize that we are stuck with the two-party system. The only way that can change is from the inside out,
Yep.
because the laws and
Mm-hmm.
shall we even say the Constitution will have to be changed for that to happen. And trying to bring in a third party candidate just because
Yeah.
I have a right to vote for whoever I want is not going to do it. A third party candidate will never be president of this country.
Well,
It's
and
just
Right.
people
the
point
system
out
is
that
designed to avoid that.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
people point out that through history there's been a couple of cases where we've had a third party come up,
And
but
history means squat about
yeah,
regarding this.
that really can't happen anymore
Because they never
because
get
of the amount of
funding.
money that you need to run for office these days.
Exactly.
Right.
Which should be a crime in and of itself.
Yeah.
Like, don't, oh my God, that's a whole nother conversation we could get into.
Well, that's the thing. People want to come in, and they want to try and vote in a third party president. It's like, no, you need to. You really want a third party candidate? You need to start at the local level. You need to start having congressmen,
Yes,
senators, and
thank
mayors
you.
who are the third party,
Oh
and
my
then
god.
you get the president in that third party because you
Yep.
No,
have to.
you need to start it even lower than that. School boards, aldermen, county supervisors,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, right.
mayors.
Local, like I'm always saying,
That's what that
please vote in your local elections, even things you don't think matter, like you just pointed out, school boards and things like that. Oh my god, these things matter, they matter so much, I would argue more than the presidency, because
this
they
is how
lead to the presidency.
this is how the lunatics have gotten power today. Is that
Yeah.
they back in the Reagan days, they started at the grassroots level with school boards, with common councils, with
Mm-hmm.
mayors, and built it up over the years. They took the long game approach, and look
Absolutely.
at where they are now.
Yep.
This
Yeah.
you cannot do it by voting for a president or even a
Yeah.
senator. You have to get the bottom going. You can do those other things as well, but you have got to get the bottom going as most importantly.
Well, and what I keep
You're
pointing
totally
out to the
right.
people who decide not to vote, it's not that you have to vote, but think about the math. The fewer people who vote, the more
Mm-hmm.
each vote matters.
Exactly.
I live in a town of 3,000 people. Most elections, we don't get more than 300 people voting. But that means my vote counts for 10 people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
I
the
have the
less
same
people
problem
that
here.
vote, the more power the electoral college has, which is a whole nother problem. Don't abolish the electoral college, like fuck's sakes, I can't.
I don't
Anyway,
think we can jump into abolishing the electoral college like step one, but but a good starting point would be make it a percentile representation. Fifty
Yeah.
percent of your
yeah,
state votes Democrat, you get 50% of the electoral votes for the Democrats.
yes.
Well,
Rather
and
than
that's
go
Oh,
where
I
one
the
big
Electoral
completely
College
agree.
went
Like
so
I'm
badly wrong last time.
right.
Was
right.
it wasn't who took which states. It
It
was
was
basically that
gerrymandering.
Hillary took all the big cities
Yep.
and Trump took all the rural areas.
Hmm.
Yep.
And Trump got all the states that had more population in the rural areas than they had big cities.
He
Like
had more
Texas.
electorate. Exactly. He
Yeah.
had
Hmm.
more electorates, and that should be illegal. Like
Yeah.
I'm not calling for the electoral college. By no means am I saying make the electoral college illegal tomorrow. Like no, I completely agree. It should be a little bit more moderate approach. Like what you guys are saying right now is, just
Yeah.
just start small and make it fair. Stop giving so many electorates to one tiny teeny place. No, make it fair.
Or if you're gonna stick with an electoral college, at least make it based on actual population. 1,000 people,
Exactly,
one
that's what
vote.
I'm saying.
1,000. Any number of things would fix the electoral
Yes,
college to make it better than what we have now.
correct.
But
Yeah, I
but
agree.
you know, Joe Blow in Timbuktu shouldn't be worth more of a vote than me just because I live in Atlanta and I'm in a big city.
Yeah.
Precisely. Precise. And I think that's the one thing that,
But
we
you
can
do
all
understand
agree on,
though,
that like is not a good idea.
that the electoral college was put in just to help create the balance so that big cities cannot rule rural and rural cannot rule big cities, but that there's a balance created by the representation
Yeah. Well, at the time,
Well,
this is
that's
of
I'm
why
I'm
they
size.
were
I'm I'm
created
I'm
at the
s-
time, but that's
I'm
not how they're
I'm sorry.
utilized now.
One vote, one vo- every person's vote should matter the
yeah.
same.
At the
Yes,
time the Electoral College was created, it was to prevent the couple of big cities from ruling entire states
correct.
because they were afraid that in New York, whoever took the city of New York would win and none of the farmers would get any representation. That's what the Electoral College was designed to prevent.
Hmm.
And it's basically just flipped on its head now, and such that
I
the
was
people
just fixing
living
to
in the
say that.
cities are being forced to live by the rules of Joe Blow in Timbuktu.
Hmm. Yep.
Uneducated, racist, homophobic, whatever bigotry you want to expose expose is not
Hmm.
the word. Attribute to this person. We're now being forced to live by that.
Exactly.
Yeah, Nerdy was asking, wasn't Trump doing things to make it difficult for people to vote? And
They've been
Yes,
doing
not
that for
Trump,
he
ages.
was
yeah,
and he
not Trump
still is.
specifically, but the Republican Party has
Yeah,
put through a lot of legislation to make it more difficult, particularly for low income people to vote.
yeah, and
Closing
they've made
polling
more
locations.
legislation since his election, and it's very scary. Like extremely scary. I'm actually a little terrified, I won't lie, of the 2020 election because of the things that the Supreme Court ruled is totally legal and okay for them to do when it comes to district management, as
Yeah.
some people like to call it.
Bub says, wasn't the Electoral College designed to placate slave states? Basically, that's what we mean when we say rural. For the most part,
Yeah,
I think it was the slave states being worried that the non-slave states would have enough population to vote slavery away, and then they would lose their slaves and all that. And why did I just
right.
beep?
Yeah. Yeah,
Once
the
upon a
industrialized
time,
cities
it
were going
had
to have more
its
representation
proper,
than the agricultural areas.
yeah. Like once upon a time, it had its proper function in checks and balances. But now it's just a corrupt entity that is
Yeah.
overruling the popular vote. And that
Well,
should never happen. I'm
yeah.
sorry, but the popular vote should always win. Period. End of discussion.
Well, and also a big part of the Electoral College was because of the communications 200 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That it would have taken them, maybe close to 2 years to have
Right.
gotten all the
To
vote
gather all
counts
the
in
data.
from all the counties.
Yeah.
But yeah, now that we have the communications we have today, that a matter of hours after the polls closing, they've got 98% of the vote counted. There's really no need for that.
No, there's no need for it at all.
Unfortunately,
Check.
Congress will probably recognize that the next logical step in that is that then why don't we have a true democracy instead of a representative democracy?
I have to say something to chat. Bemilzebub, don't fool yourself. The Democratic Party loves to gerrymander just as much as the Republican Party. The Republican Party is just much better at it.
Yeah. I I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm just sick and tired of
that's
living
a fair
in.
point.
Yeah, no, completely. I agree. I'm just sick and tired of living in. I'm sick and tired of living in a country that is so hypocritical about every fucking thing. Like, either you want a democratic government or you don't.
Hmm.
You cannot say to me that you're in favor of a democratic government while at the same time claiming, oh, we need the electoral college. Like, no, we don't. Especially when they actually outrule and have the power and use the power to overrule us, the people.
Yes. And something most people don't realize about the Electoral College is it's a
They're
minority of the
secret.
states that the
Yeah.
electors are actually required to vote for the same candidate that won the
Mm-hmm.
popular vote.
You
There are
betcha.
only a few states that actually have it written in their state constitution that they have to vote that way.
Yep.
So
Isn't that part?
basically, the
Go
the
ahead.
members of the Electoral College, most of them are basically free to vote for whoever they please, regardless.
I
Yeah.
was watching a program, I forget where, a few days ago, and there was this woman who was on camera, and she was saying, to paraphrase, we've got to make sure that Trump wins because those Democrats, or no, they didn't use the word Democrat. What did they say? Um, Something to refer to
Those socialists.
leftist, socialist, communist type people,
Yeah.
are because all they want to do is bring in all the immigrants and let them vote illegally.
I'm
Well,
so sick of that.
what I want is a country that is not filled with so many stupid fucking people who believe that kind of shit.
A fucking men. Yes. I'm with you on that. Mm.
Yeah, that's this thing that gets me a lot. It is people talking about, oh, they'll come here and they'll get all the benefits. I'm like, they don't get benefits. They're
I
not citizens,
know.
but their children
What?
do. If they're born here, their children are citizens. They're receiving benefits not for themselves, but for their kids.
Right? But I've had this, oh my God, I've had this
Yep.
debate and argument with my own fucking mother. Like, oh, it burns me up. Like, I'm just like, woman, you are educated, you're smart. And once upon a time, now, okay, current, present day, my mother is very well off, shall we say. Um, she is not suffering financially in any way. However, that is not the majority of her life. She was a very poor single mother, raising children on her own, walking to work, working 3 jobs, and trying to find proper childcare where her kids could stay while she worked 3 jobs.
Hmm.
So, and she did receive government assistance, at one time in her life because she had to feed her kids and she needed it. And this was before I was born. And it baffles me to no end to see someone, and my mother is just, a drop in the bucket in comparison because there are so many people just like her who have this history and have this story of suffering and being poor and impoverished and wanting better for their kids and only getting better for their kids due to government assistance of some kind, yet at every single opportunity they vote against their own interests and the interests of their children and their future. Why? Why? Because you're scared of brown people? Like,
Yep.
what the fuck, man? And
I
what's
I get
funny is, like, we come from a mixed family. Like, this is the strangest thing to me of all. Like, my family is Mexican and black, and, like, we are a mixed family. Oh my God, it hurts my brain.
Yeah. I get in trouble for saying that I think that I don't really think this is an idea that sometimes bounces around in my head and I think it would solve problems, but in reality I realize it wouldn't. Um, but this idea bops around my head sometimes that maybe there should be, instead of having a minimum age for voting, there should be an
A
expiration date for
maximum.
your voting rights.
Yeah. No, me and a few of my friends in private have made some jokes about that. So I totally understand what you mean by,
Well, I'm
like,
65. Am I too old?
no,
No,
not at all,
No, I
as
not
long
at
think the
as you
all.
vote the
There's
problem.
a
right way.
reason
No,
why
no, I'm
we
just kidding.
say it's
Yeah.
not actually a good idea. It's just an idea that bounces around in our heads sometimes.
It's
I
like
think the problem is that people, when they reach 18, are just automatically given the right to vote. They don't have to earn it, and since they
Mhm.
don't earn it, they don't put any value on it.
Yeah,
yeah. I don't think
very
I
true.
when I my first election that I voted in that I remember actually like processing like what was going on was Obama's first election.
Yeah,
Before
Obama
that,
was the first president I voted for.
well, I voted before that, but I just voted for whoever my parents were voting for because I didn't know enough to, I wasn't world
Yeah.
wise at the time. It was just like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, my dad says he's voting for this person. I guess I'll vote for him too.
And that's exactly why I didn't vote. However, your story is the story of most Americans, I would argue.
I mean, and at the
Most
time,
young Americans do vote. When they turn 18, they do vote the way their parents vote.
You know what
because
bothers
at
me
the,
even more than
hmm,
that, Kitty?
hmm.
Is when I hear somebody say, "Oh, I'm going to vote for so and so because I think he's going to win." Huh? They want to vote for a winner more than they want to vote for the right person.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
usually those people don't know anything about the candidates anyway.
Right.
No, the only thing they know about the candidates is literally 2-minute ads they see on television.
And, and I don't fault kids who've just got voted rights, voting for what their parents vote for. As long as if your parents aren't abusive douchebags as you're growing up, you've got no reason to think
Right,
that your parents are voting for the wrong candidate.
right.
And
It
in
takes
fact,
time to come
mhm.
out of that mindset and realization. It takes time to come into your own,
Well, but that's the thing too. Is like my dad voted for Obama in his first term too. So I've like no and then I don't know who he voted for Obama's second term. He may have voted for Obama then too, but I know he voted for Trump, and I'm sitting here going, "Wow!" So that's what it feels like to lose respect for your father.
Yeah.
Hey, Johnny Drive-By, don't feel bad. My first time I voted for Richard Nixon.
Eh,
I was a Reagan voter too, Johnny. Don't feel bad at all. I just did it
Yeah,
because my parents, that's who they were voting for. And
we've all
hi,
voted
Doc.
for
Did you fall
somebody we wish
asleep?
we
I
hadn't.
haven't heard you speak once.
I was
Poor
actually
Doc.
just going to jump in there and say I voted for Perot, so
yeah,
I
I
did
think that
I
was
too.
my first
I know
vote.
the
That was
Oh,
words.
who my dad
Perot
voted
man.
for.
I voted for him too. I did.
I remember
The second
Perot.
time he ran.
I kind of wish you could look up your voting record because I really don't remember. So if I voted for, let's see, I think I turned 18 in 1998. 7654. So maybe it would have been my first election would have been in 2000.
Oh my God.
Right? That's what
And
I
I'm
was
like,
like, oh my.
Am I the youngest person here? Oh my god. I feel like a
Am I
baby.
the oldest person here? Oh my God.
Yeah, generally I'm used to being the oldest one here unless Diana comes in, so.
no,
Oh, that's
That's
why
okay.
you invited me, because I'm older than both of you.
Age doesn't matter. We're all on the same wavelength intellectually, so who cares?
um,
No, I've started drooling. I think you'll have to change that.
I don't
I
hear
was
drool. There's no drool.
Yeah.
Unless
I,
there's ball
I don't
gags
have anything to
involved,
be
then
embarrassed
maybe
by
there's
in
drool.
this group.
Well,
The first
you got
president,
you guys want to
first
know why I voted for
presidential
Nixon?
election I was eligible to vote in, I voted for Mondale.
Oh
so
dear.
so I'm looking it up, and I think the first president I ever voted for was Al Gore in 2000. I remember voting for Al Gore because
Yeah.
my mom's a registered Democrat, and I think I voted for the Democratic candidate because my mother voted for him.
Yep.
I can't remember in 2004.
I've always been that's one thing that's never changed about me actually politically is I have always been a registered independent.
really?
I registered as a Democrat because of the fact that you can't vote in depending on where you are, you can't vote in the primaries
Yeah,
if you're not
Yeah.
registered for a party. So
right.
I figured I'm more likely to vote for a Democrat, so I might as well register as a Democrat. That way I can vote in the primaries.
Yeah, I'm actually what you just said right there. I was looking up uh, the laws where I live, and
I
there's
went,
some ambiguity going on. So I'm actually considering changing my status to Democrat to
Yeah.
ensure
I want
that
to
when it
hear why.
comes election time, I don't have any problems.
I want to hear why Jen voted for Nixon.
Yes, me too.
Well, there was this little thing called the Vietnam War going on, and I was eligible for the draft in those days. And
Oh,
and the guy running against him was McGovern,
Mm-hmm.
who historically we know was a person who was backing peace. But the spin room made it sound like McGovern was going to, because he was an incompetent Democrat, was going to make the war worse and drag it out. I didn't necessarily believe that, and so I was actually a McGovern supporter. But when I got into that voting booth for the first time, I actually stood there and got scared
Mm-hmm.
for my own life.
Yeah.
And I
That
pulled the
makes
lever for
sense.
Nixon because he was a Quaker, they're peace loving, and I believe that him saying there would be peace was true.
Well,
I can
didn't Nixon
understand that.
didn't Nixon actually end up getting us out of Vietnam though?
Well, he did. He just took his goddamn good natured time doing it,
Yeah,
Right.
he took his sweet
I
sweet
mean, I
time.
and
can't
cost probably 10,000 lives.
I can't fault anybody for Nixon, because if it wasn't for Nixon, I probably wouldn't even be alive, because my dad was stationed in Vietnam and his tour ended early because Nixon ended the war.
Yeah,
So,
my
like, that's
father and his brother were both in Vietnam.
So that's how I ended up. I just got scared and I pulled the lever. Everyone else I voted for was Democrat, and everyone I have ever voted for since is Democrat.
Mm.
I think that's
Eh,
a very relatable story, actually.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually can't take a lot of credit. You know, you everyone else was saying about voting the way your parents always voted, and I pretty much have, but my father was a union carpenter, so basically he always voted
Mm,
Democratic
Yeah.
because,
yeah.
traditionally they always favored the labor unions.
Yeah. I really wish we had a multi-party system. I fucking hate the two-party shit.
Yep.
It's so just disgusting and corrupt, and I think that's actually a huge part of why America is so corrupt is because we've been running off this two-party bullshit for so long.
Well, and it's also the main cause of voter apathy, why so
mhm.
many people don't bother to vote.
Right.
Exactly. Yes.
That's one of
100.
those things I see so much here in the South, and
Me too.
like so I'm in Georgia, and I get so many people talking about, "Oh, my vote doesn't count. I'm not going to go vote." And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's I'm trying to be sensitive here because I hear that like 90% of the time from African American people that I work
Yeah.
with, and I'm just like, you have bought the white man's lie, hook, line, and sinker, is what I want
Hmm.
Yeah.
to say. It's like
Yeah.
they don't want you to vote because they know
Exactly.
that when you vote, you will vote against you will vote you will probably vote Democratic because Democrats are for the things that African Americans need and use.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
At
I'm just
least
like,
much more so than Republicans ever will be.
true, right. And it's just one of those things that's just like boggles my mind. And I try and tell them, I'm like, look, okay, if there's an election tomorrow and you go and vote and your vote doesn't count, what's it cost you? And they're like, nothing. I'm like, right. Now, what if your vote does? If your vote doesn't count, you've just wasted some time. Now, if your vote counts and you don't vote, what happens? We get Trump.
Yeah.
But this is this one person that I talk to the most. He actually likes Trump because Trump is racist
Oh,
and
of
he's
course.
black. No, but his reasoning is that I know where I stand with Trump. It's he's not like one of these people like that tries and hides their racism
Yeah.
and still does
That's
racist
ignorant.
things. That's yeah, I don't understand how that's
Yeah.
That's
supposed to
ignorant.
be
That's just ignorant.
Well, see,
That's
what
stupid.
gets me, like, going off of this conversation, what gets me is this very strange mentality that people buy into for whatever reason, that because you are a certain identity, you can't possibly be something else that's bad. Like, for example, a black person can't possibly be racist, or a trans person can't possibly be transphobic, or I could keep going. No. Look at history, look at present day. Just because your identity doesn't mean shit. Like, you can still fall into a bad apple category while holding a certain identity. It doesn't matter. Everyone is susceptible to the same things. We're all human.
Yeah.
We are all flawed, and we
Right.
all have the capacity to have flawed
Mhm.
logic and flawed thinking and bad thinking at that, for that matter.
Yep.
Mhm.
Look at Blair White and Ben
No.
Carson. Ben Carson and Blair White. There you go. Those are my
See,
bad. Those are
Caitlyn
my bad
Jenner.
examples.
I don't.
Oh
But
God,
that's one of those things that I've come to think about is the whole like I used to call Ben Carson and Uncle Tom all the time,
I hate Ben Carson.
and I've come to the conclusion that I mean
I hate Ben.
when you apply. Wow, that was a big yawn.
I'm sorry.
I'm just teasing. Um, when you take somebody like Ben Carson and Blair
Mhm.
White and you call them things like token and Uncle Tom, you're trying to take away their autonomy. They could
Mhm.
honestly believe what they're saying, but by
Yeah.
calling them a token or an Uncle Tom, you're implying that they're only doing it for the approval of someone else.
Right. Well, and
And
this is
so
why
I've
I
tried
don't
to
do so
stop
publicly.
tried to stop thinking like that because yeah, Ben Carson's a Republican and I think it's a stupid thing, but I have to accept that he could have come to those beliefs legitimately and he's not doing it for some ulterior motive. Wow, that word's
Yeah,
hard.
yeah.
Well,
Blair White is just an asshole.
I I agree. I agree. She's an
S-
asshole.
I I've
Um,
seen some of her videos.
However, I don't think that there is anything about Ben Carson that is a good faith actor at all. And I
Well,
don't even, it's not even him being a Republican that I have a problem with. It's everything else. Like
Mhm.
it's his whole ideology and everything else he's had to say. Like I don't care that he's a Republican. I care about all the other ideas that he puts forth that are horrible and disgusting.
Mhm.
well,
You
I,
know,
I think with Ben Carson, it's still that the root of all of his philosophy is how to maximize corporate profits.
yeah, absolutely.
And
Well,
that it doesn't
he
matter
cares about
what his
the
skin color
establishment
is
and
or even what
elitists.
his religion is or anything like that.
Hmm.
He only cares about what's going to get the most money into his bank account.
Mhm.
Exactly. With Ben Carson, it's a classism issue, pure and simple.
Mhm.
And he would probably vote for a KKK member if he thought it was going to
Mm-hmm.
improve his profits.
Oh hell yeah, one
Now,
hundred percent.
now I've got no problem calling Jesse Lee Peterson an Uncle Tom because
Oh,
he's got to be fake.
oh God, Jesse Lee Peterson. Oh my fucking God, that man.
Tell me you're all familiar with him.
I have no
Oh.
idea who you're talking about.
I know who he
Okay,
Oh
is. That's
Lord.
all.
Google, go to YouTube,
Yeah.
like when
No.
the stream is over,
Shh.
and
No.
No,
and
no,
type
no,
in
no.
Jesse Lee Peterson.
Don't
Nope.
give
And
him
Not doing
views.
it.
well, no, no,
He's
no.
oh
No,
well,
I'm not saying give him views. I'm just saying
Not
type in
for a
his
million
name,
dollars.
watch other people's
right,
videos on
right.
Jesse Lee
Like
Peterson.
Jacqueline Glenn got one where she was interviewed by him. Hugo
The
and Jake
Surfs, Hugo and Jake.
did a
Yes.
interview with him. His big thing is calling everybody beta, and
Yeah.
sh-
Beta.
and
Beta.
he refers to Trump. I'm gonna wake my boyfriend up. I better be
Great
quiet.
White
What?
Hope.
Oh,
I
yeah, the
hate
Great
it.
White Hope.
Oh my, it's so cringy. It's so
He,
fucking cringy.
I
Help me.
watched a clip where a man had called into his show, and he's a Christian, obviously. Jesse Lee Peterson's a Christian, and this guy's calling in about whether or not he should marry his girlfriend. They've been together 6 years. She's got a 5-year-old son. So this man has been this child's father his entire life. And do you know what Jesse Lee Peterson's advice was? Don't marry that woman because you are not that child's father.
Yeah.
This is
Despite the
why
fact
I'm
that
not going to go watch or listen to anything that I have no desire to put any more stupid in my head than I have to deal with already during a day. So,
I
despite the
don't
fact
blame
that they've
you.
been together for 6 years, the relationship is good. There's absolutely no problems. But the fact that she was married
Yeah.
or got pregnant before the relationship started, that's a reason enough for him not to marry her.
ugh.
Well, Jesse Lee Peterson is, in my opinion, the epitome of bad faith actors.
Hmm.
The man is he's disturbed. Okay, like call a spade a spade. He's disturbed. Like there is something. I'm genuinely concerned for his mental health and well being because I think there is something severely wrong there. Like that is my genuine opinion. No shade meant. Like
Hmm.
I believe that something is deeply psychologically wrong.
Okay, we get it.
He scares me. And anyone that calls Trump the Great White Hope, like yeah, can we send them to another landmass? Like maybe Antarctica. Yeah, they don't believe in climate change, so surely they wouldn't have a problem being on ice that's, floating in the middle of the ocean.
Could somebody please teach Donald Trump what the definition of treason is?
We keep trying, but he just doesn't understand. It just won't stick, man. It just won't stick.
Hey, Purple, I heard you got your car fixed. How's it going? Is it
Oh,
running and doing all right?
Yeah, actually, tomorrow I'm going to
You
try
finally
to
got your car
bleed out the
fixed?
brake lines again because just
Oh,
the
good.
pedal's got more travel than it should have, so there's still air in the lines.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
That's
Well,
hard to do by yourself.
well, my brother's going to help me tomorrow, but
Okay,
okay.
good.
Perp,
unfortunately,
do you know
the
how to do
parts are
that
so
yourself?
seized up I can't actually do the bleeder screws the way I should, but I can manage it.
Oh.
But it's not
Pickle's a handyman. He
surprising
can do
considering how
anything.
much I had to replace.
What,
So
honey?
it's
Oh,
not surprising considering how much I had to replace. It was like 6 feet of brake line on one side and 8 feet on the other side.
mm.
Holy
So I'm
cow.
not surprised that we didn't get all the air out the first time.
Dadgum, that's a lot of work, man.
Do you do all four wheels when you bleed, or just the rears?
Well, I wanted to do all four, but on one of the fronts, I'm afraid that I can't get the bleeder screw loose. I'm afraid I'm going to break it off, and then I've got to wind up replacing the whole brake caliper, or
Oof.
not the caliper, the whole brake piston.
Well,
So
no,
I
you'd
don't think I
replace the
want to mess with
caliper.
that if I can avoid it.
Rebuilt calipers are not that terribly expensive. Um, when you have an open system like you had, it's pretty important to bleed all four wheels.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
right,
and when
Jen.
you
You're
do
a
that,
mechanic, aren't you?
yep, you start at the wheel that is closest to the master.
Yeah, I
Um,
know how it's supposed to be done.
okay.
There's
He
a
just
lot
don't
of
like
things on
doing
that.
it. He knows how to
No,
do
there,
it. He just don't like doing it.
there's a lot of things on that car that I cannot do by the book because it's just not possible to get the tools in there. I really didn't want to
I could,
patch the lines. I wanted to replace all the lines, but the reality came to that couldn't be done without disassembling the whole front suspension because
oh,
you
good
couldn't get
grief.
2 wrenches to the nuts.
Yeah, well, the problem with most consumer available tech manuals is that they do not follow the factory procedures. You go to a factory manual and it will explain what you have to remove to get to things that you need to get to.
No,
Um,
yeah. No, actually, my brother is the head mechanic at a dealership in the Chicago area, so he's got all the books. He went through all that, and it's like, yeah, not on that car. You have
Oh,
to remove one of the frame braces.
good night, Tony.
Night, Tony.
Oh, good night, Tony.
Yeah, that's one of those things that
Bye.
really irritates me about, like, and it goes back to the thing that you were saying in the beginning about replacement versus repair. Like, I want to get a car, but I don't want to get a car with all the bells and whistles. But they've made everything standard on cars,
Yeah,
and like, I
yeah.
get it. I get it that it's gotten to the point with the technology where it's more effective to include it than not.
Yeah,
But it's just one of those things. It's like, I don't need all these bells and whistles. Give me power windows and AC, and I'm good. I don't need
Right.
anything else.
Actually,
Or,
Right.
well, and a good radio, but you know.
I was
that's
say
part of
you
why I
forgot
bought the car I
radio.
did. The
Well, you
one I
pretty
got
much.
is the very base package. It actually even has manual window cranks. I don't want
That
power windows on an old car because inevitably the motor in the driver's door burns out.
yep.
Yeah.
Mm,
Hmm.
yeah.
My
And
friend
I've,
has
I've
that
had to
issue right
replace
now,
that damn
actually.
window motor on 4 cars I've had.
Mm.
My car's only 4 years old, and the switch on the driver's side for the driver's side window is already messed up. But
Well,
just
basically, they don't make anything on the cars to have life expectancy of more than 5 years anymore
yeah.
Yeah,
because they don't
A
even
window
expect you to
switch
pay them
generally isn't
off.
a
They
terribly
expect you to
expensive
trade it
part.
in.
Now it's not usually too much trouble, but my dealership closed, and so now I've got to
Oh
find another place to
no.
take it
Oh.
because
What
it's
kind of
still
car
under
is it?
warranty.
Oh,
Well, that's good.
I
what
don't
kind
know
of
if
car
it
is it?
covers the window switch or not, but
Yeah, but the window switch, like the
Off
problem that I
roster.
ended up the problem that I ended up having with my car is the freaking latch, like to just open the door
yeah.
on both doors broke at like the
Oh
same
crap.
time. So like
Oh.
I had to sit there and roll down the window and reach out and undo it on the other side. We got the replacement parts. It's just been a pain in the butt trying to get my boyfriend to go and fix the passenger door. He's like, as long as I can get out of the car on the driver's side, I don't care about the passenger side. I'm like, well, I care because that's my spot.
Yeah.
Right? What about me? No, I told my husband like 4 months ago that my tires were bad. They're making squealing noises in the parking lot at Walmart and stuff like that. And no, we just bought those tires. They're fine. They're fine. They're fine. I was like, no, they're not fine. I'm telling you, they're making all this noise. So he goes to get the thing inspected a couple of weeks ago, and they're like, oh, yeah, your tires are bad. I was
Oof.
like, well, yeah, I
I
told
had
you
to.
so.
I was. It was.
Heaven
So
forbid a female would know more about a car than a male.
Oh, hell, tell me about it.
Right.
Well,
Oh.
that was another thing with mine. I just got a new pair of tires put on it because 2 of them had no tread left.
And see, I
yeah,
can tell
that's
you what's wrong with my car. I've had a car break down in every freaking possible way a car can break down. If you can leave you on the side of the road, it has done it to me. I can tell you what's wrong with it. I just can't fix it. I know what
I
part is
got
broke. I know how. I know, but I can't fix it myself.
Yeah.
my
You can
car. My car.
diagnose the problem, you just can't fix the problem.
Right.
So my car beat the shit out of me the last month. We knew the brakes were going. We knew we were going to need to replace the brakes, and so we were like, we're putting it off for just a little bit. We just got to get to payday, then we can do it. Then the tires start the part where you've got the black on the outer tire, and then like there's that white layer underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
The white layer started showing on the front tire, so then we had to go and we had to get 2 new tires. We had to get the brake pads replaced. Well, unfortunately, we waited too long on the brake pads because then the rotor, the not just the brake pads, but the part on the inside of the car that the brake
Yeah.
pad pushes into, that had to be replaced too, and it cost us like $700. We were like, oh my god.
My husband's truck won't go in out past third gear. He drives
I feel
everywhere in third gear.
I feel so bad for you guys who can't fix your cars yourself. I'm sorry. I just feel bad for you.
I don't have
I
a
can do
car
simple
anymore.
stuff. Like I know how to change the oil, and I put brakes on a 1986 Mustang
Well, Angie, it
many,
sounds
many
like
years
we need to
ago.
work together because it's like I can't do the diagnostics, but if you can tell me which component is bad, I can probably replace it.
Yeah, you two are a
Most of the
perfect
time I can
duo.
figure it out. And what's funny is people in my world, I don't know how other people are. People in my world tend to go for whatever the most difficult fucking problem it is. And I'm like, why don't you start with the easiest thing first? Check the battery. Check
Yeah.
and you go from simple to difficult.
Well, I tend to go by cost. I'll replace the cheapest component first, and if that doesn't work, then I'll go up the line to the next one.
But see, that ends up costing you more because you replace the parts that don't need to be replaced.
Yeah, I try to avoid that myself too.
Yeah, like the mechanic we used to use, we called him the parts replacer because that's exactly what he did. He'd put in a new this and say that's what it was, and he put in a new that. Well, that wasn't what it is. So then it's this, and then he'd put in the new thing. Well, that wasn't that it either. I'm like, well, damn, why can't you figure out what it is before you, seriously?
Yeah.
So Yeah, me and mechanics go round and round and round because they think I'm stupid because I'm a girl, and it bugs the crap out of me. And so nowadays, when it's something needs to be done, I tell the husband, "You go do it," because I'm not going to deal with them assholes. I'm not going to be patted on the head and go, "Don't you worry your little head about it, darling. We'll fix it for you." Oh, that goes all over me.
I hate that.
Now,
Thou
so many
shalt
times
not
I've used that to
condescend,
my
diva.
advantage. When I bought used cars, I used to take my sister along
Oh,
because they'd be trying to impress me with everything. It's like, I don't know shit about cars, but they're ignoring her while she's making a checklist of everything that's wrong with it.
yeah.
Yeah, I've never had those problems.
You're lucky. You're so
No, 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 no. That was
skilled.
sarcastic.
I'm sorry.
Uh,
At least you've got skills, you know? So if you really have to put them in their place, you can. You can say, no, blah, blah, and really put them in their place. I can't do that because I'm not as knowledgeable as I would like to be. If I could fix it
Uh,
without breaking my nails or getting too greasy, I would could do it. But
there's a
then
lot of
again,
things I'm not as knowledgeable on that I would like to be, but I'm trying to rectify that the best way I can.
I actually love going in some place like I'll go to like my local micro center and I'll have my boyfriend leave and go do something else and I'll go up and I'll act like I'm interested in something just to get them to talk down to me. And then when they say something, I'll be like, and then I'll just rattle off all kinds of
And
specs
then impress
at
them
them,
with all of
and
your
then
yeah.
knowledge.
yeah,
Yes.
make them feel stupid for talking down to me because they assumed I was a girl
Right.
and don't know anything about computers.
Oh, I love doing that. Like
I
that is
get that too,
legit
just
a
because of
kink.
age.
Oh yeah,
Really?
Oh
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
I bet.
Oh well,
I
this one
can.
has real big buttons. I can see
Yeah,
fine,
treating you like
asshole.
you're
Kiss my
stupid because like
ass.
that's so ridiculous. You're not even that old. Like, come on now. What
I
are you,
you know
60 something?
I sympathize.
65.
I
Yeah, you're
sympathize
not
with
even
what you're.
that old.
There's a large portion of my generation who are very computer stupid.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
seriously, my mom was literally afraid of the computer.
Well,
She
see, my
would
dad
not
was the
touch it.
opposite. Like,
It's
my
like,
father loved
well, my
all
mom,
things technology
I was
and
talking,
he loved, like,
Lena.
he was better than I
Silver,
was.
you
Sorry.
kind of cut Angie off there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I it
My mom
got a
was
blip.
afraid of the computer. She would not touch it, but she would stand behind my dad because he's always been a tech fella. He likes the newest gadgets or whatever. She would stand behind him and tell him, click on this, click on that, click on this, but she wouldn't touch it because she was, I don't know if she thought it would zap her or if she was afraid she could break. I think she said one time, I might break it because I don't know how to use it. I'm like, Mom, you can't break
Oh.
it, you
I think
know?
Jen, I sympathize with what you're saying, but as somebody who works in retail and who spent a lot of time in the technology parts of retail, it's not par for the course for somebody in your age range to come in with enough knowledge on these things. And I know
Oh,
how
I
bad
know,
that
I
sounds.
know.
I literally have stalkers at my job. I'm not kidding. I don't even work in the technology department anymore. I work in a completely different department. People will come into the store, ask for me by name because of course I'm required to wear a name badge. And then they will hunt me down in the store and expect me to spend 3 hours teaching them how to make a walmart.com order on their cell phone. And I'm like,
Oh, jeez, Louise.
I'm
No.
not I'm not
Um,
trying to be mean, but that's not my job. People who do what you're trying to get me to do get paid like $20 an hour, and I'm sitting here like something like 13. Come on,
Yeah.
I
leave me
had
alone.
that problem at my last job. I kind of became known very
Mhm.
well for being able to solve certain problems. So whenever I transitioned into a different, or rather, I got bumped up into a different department, it was no longer my problem. And yet,
People still came to you.
customers would call my private line whenever they called the support line, and they would talk to one of the people that used to be my subordinates. Oh my god, they would just go ahead and patch them through to my direct line, and I'm like, I have nothing to do with your department anymore, bitch. Why the fuck are
Mhm.
you sending these people to me? No. Stop it. They're like, well, you wrote the training manual. Like you can help more than I can. I'm like,
Read the training
dude,
manual and do
that's
your
what I
job.
said. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's why I made the training manual. Like, I made it for you to learn, not so that you could send them directly to me. Like,
That
come on
that
now.
always that always pisses me off at work is I'll know the answer to a question and somebody else won't know the answer, and they'll bring
Mm-hmm.
somebody to me and be like, "This person has a question," and then they'll walk off. It's like, "No, get back
Right?
here, learn the answer to this question, and stop
Yes.
harassing me."
Right.
Hallelujah. Yes. Like, take a seat and learn my wisdom, and then you can go forth and share it. People. People, people, people.
Yeah, there are often times that I wonder if survival of our species is a good idea, but
Right.
unfortunately, I've invested half my life into raising a bunch of kids that weren't mine, but it makes me feel that I have some responsibility to giving them a chance.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those things that I get flack for because I don't have kids and I can't have kids, and sometimes when shit goes to when stuff gets too much with all the political stuff, my coping mechanism is to sit there and say, "Fuck it, I don't have any kids. I don't have to worry about the future. When I die, it's over."
I don't blame you.
Yeah, well,
But then
and
people get mad at me
technically,
for that one, and I'm just like, "I don't mean it. I'm just being pessimistic right now."
How can anyone get mad at you for that? Like,
yeah,
so
But it's
what?
usually people that have kids that are like, "Yeah, but my kids," well, I'm like, "They're not
I
mine."
My
helped raise other
my kids are
people's
not your
kids, and
responsibility.
I'm not. Yeah, that. I don't find that offensive at all. I
yeah.
also want to adopt, and I still don't find that offensive. Like, I don't care.
Hmm.
Yeah, my kids are not your responsibility, but we're all like Lena said a while ago, we're all human beings.
It
We
takes a
have to care
village,
about other human beings, whether
Yep.
they belong to us or
Mm-hmm.
not, or whether we
right?
agree with them or not.
Well,
Yeah.
and there is the selfish argument for that, which is why we have public schools.
Yeah.
You want the kids now to get well educated so they can get good paying jobs because somebody's got to take care of us when we become too old to work.
There you go.
Exactly. Exactly. And they're going to be in charge of everything. You know,
Yeah.
they're going to be the new doctors and the lawyers, the
Yep.
Mhm.
senators, the presidents, you name it. Like, they are the future. They're going to be running the country. They're going to
Well,
be
the
running
social
the
security
world. So you
system,
better treat them right, and you
yeah,
better invest in them so that they can take care of us old people when we're actually old and senile.
the
Damn it.
social security system can only remain stable as long as the number of people entering the workforce continues to be greater than the number of people
Mhm.
retiring.
Correct.
I don't
Yep.
blame anybody for not bringing kids into this world. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Not at all.
The older I get, the more I want to adopt, and I don't know. It sucks that there are so many things that unfortunately go against me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
that's one of those things
I'm
that
not
always
really seen as a good candidate, so to speak.
right. That's one of those things that always pisses me off when the discussion of children comes up and I say I can't have any, and they always like, "Oh, you can adopt," and I'm like, "Look
Do
at
you
me.
know how
Yeah,
much that costs? Oh my
Do
right?
gosh.
you think
It's
working in my?"
expensive as fuck. It's
It's
Mhm.
not free.
ridiculous.
You don't just get a
Yeah.
Adoption shouldn't
kid
cost a
because you raise
dime.
your hand.
No, it
Oh, I
shouldn't.
agree. No, it shouldn't. Like, if you love a child and and your home check proves that you can provide a loving, safe environment to raise that child or children, then you should get that child or children. Why would you just have millions of children in the system and deny people, the opportunity to be a good parent to them simply because you don't agree
Money, money,
with
Yeah.
money.
XYZ? It's
Money,
disgusting. Like,
money,
I
money, money.
hate it. I
Well, that's
know, I
the
just hate it.
that's part of the reason I don't have kids. I mean, I decided never to have my own kids. Um, but I always thought about, gee, maybe I could adopt. Well, I've been
Hmm.
single all my life, so that was a strike against me. And then being trans, nobody would let me adopt.
Yeah.
So
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate it. I hate it so much. I think it's
But it is
so
changing.
gross.
It is
Yeah.
changing. It is
Oh,
happening.
absolutely.
That's why there's so much turmoil and stuff because it is
Older
changing.
people are adopting, more LGBT people are adopting, and I think it's great and I love it. What I don't think is great is all of these Christian adoption centers that still, unfortunately have,
Am I the only
quote,
one
the
hearing that?
right. What?
It was I the only one that heard that, or was that
But
it? Never mind. It must have just been me then.
okay.
Oh, okay.
You were
But,
talking, and all I heard was like static and stuff for a minute.
oh,
Um,
Oh,
weird.
Yeah,
Um, but no, the Christian adoption centers that still have, like, quote, the right to discriminate, and I just,
yeah.
oh, it infuriates me to no end. Because, like, I was told from a very young age, I think I was 8, whenever doctors told me that, like, I could never have kids. So, like,
oh, well, that's rough.
oh, no, it's fun. But I mean, like, I always envisioned that, I wasn't certain I wanted to have a family, but I always envisioned that if I ever did have a family, obviously it would be through adoption. Or I would marry into a family, like I would, marry someone
Yep.
that already had kids or something.
yeah.
And yeah, like I said, the older I get, the more I want to adopt, and I've considered fostering because it is easier to get. It's easier to become a foster parent than it is to actually adopt. Um, but my
Easier,
worry,
but still.
well, that
They're
that's
kind
what
of
that's what I
risky.
said, easier. But the
Yeah,
thing
well,
that
it's.
scares me about fostering is I my heart would not be able to take loving a child and seeing a child as my own and then going to court to try and officially adopt that child, and instead of me getting that child, the court deciding that someone else gets that child. Like, i
Yeah,
i couldn't do that, especially if it was like if I had fostered that child for years, because I know a lot of people that have been in that exact situation. They literally, from birth to the age of 8, raised a child.
Mhm.
And then at 8 years old, the kid was taken away and given to a different family.
yeah. I have a friend up north that they did that. They did foster to adopt, and they were telling me, basically they that until the adoption is completely finalized, which could take
Mm-hmm.
3 years.
Yep.
At any point they could be like, "We're done."
Mm-hmm. Yep. They have the right to take them at any time for any reason. Like, nothing matters. Nothing. And that's why I haven't done it yet, is because, like, like I said, I don't think my heart could take that. Like, that is something that I
And
don't know if I could deal with that.
those cases that you hear of, they just piss me off. Like, the girl gets pregnant, puts the child up for adoption, child gets adopted out to a nice, and I'm not even talking like middle class, like upper middle class,
Mm-hmm.
suburban house, good school district family, and then the father who lives with his mother in her
Oh,
basement finds out they
shit.
had a kid,
Yeah.
and then he
And
goes and
take them to
takes the kid,
court
and
for the
I'm
rights.
like, no, it should be about what's best for that kid. And what's best for that kid is for it to stay where it is with the people who've raised it since however long that they've had it, who've got better prospects and a better life outlook for that child than
Yeah.
its biological father
Especially in
or
cases
mother,
where,
not being
yeah.
sexist here.
No, yeah. Especially in cases where it's an older child.
Hmm.
Like, I could easily argue the opposite side of this argument. However, when it comes to someone else raising that kid from birth to 10 years old, to just completely uproot everything that kid knows and has been taught, and they have a family. That kid, just because you don't see it, doesn't mean it's not true. Like, that child already has parents, they already have a family, they already. So, unless there's a legitimately good reason, such as the adoptive parents aren't good parents, the adoptive parents are neglectful or abusive or something else, there's no reason to take a 10-year-old who for 10 years has known these people as their parents and just completely uproot their lives like that. It's traumatizing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's the whole thing about treating kids like property. That's not a child that has its own future and its own wants and desires. No, it's his child.
Yeah.
Like genes somehow make you a good parent
Right.
or the
Right.
best parent for a child.
Now,
Yeah.
on the opposite side of this coin, the one thing that I will say and like speak out against as well is I'm glad that progress is being made and it needs to continue, but I loathe and despise the sexism that exists within the family court system. All the fathers that, you know, through no fault of their own and for no good reason other than being a father,
Hmm.
they just get denied
Right,
the rights
Yeah.
to their children. And that is disgusting to me.
right. Like if we're talking like straight out of the gate custody,
Yeah.
yeah, that's definitely.
Yeah, like whenever the mother like wants to give the baby up for adoption, but the father wants to keep it and they go to court to try and get custody, like, and they don't get custody.
I
It just,
That's actually happened. Like, I mean, I can
yeah,
understand.
that's
I can,
happened.
I can understand. Like, I'd never heard of that. I've
Well,
only ever
like
heard
if
of
the
like,
mother refuses to put them on the birth certificate, it makes
mhm,
it really easy to do.
oh, gotcha.
Yeah, because my nephew actually, I use my nephew as an example for the progress that has been made because whenever I get a young man that tells me, oh, I can't have custody of my child, it'll never happen because I'm a man, I'm like, no, my nephew fought for custody of his child and he won while being in school full time, while holding down a full time job. And by the way, he wasn't on the birth certificate because the birth mom had issues. I won't get into specifics, but anyway, but yeah, it was a very difficult process, but he did it and he won, and he now has full sole custody of his child.
Well, that's good.
Hmm. And
I've just only
it
ever
took
heard.
1 year to complete everything.
I mean, the only time I've ever heard that of custody like that kind of thing going on is when like they're separated and they're fighting for custody, and the courts just say, "Well, you're the mother, you get the children."
Yeah.
Versus.
Well, she had given the kid. I'm trying to be careful here.
Mhm.
She had but before it was made official in a court of law, there was a lot of proof to give the judge. Um, she had given the child, first of all, after the kid was born, um, our family, his family, etc., was not allowed at the hospital, was not allowed anywhere. They threatened to call the police if they saw us. And the only reason this happened, because everything was totally fine the day before she gave birth, but because my nephew did not want to, he only wanted to co parent with her, he did not want to marry her. She gave birth and then ran away with the baby,
Oof.
and we did not meet. He did not meet his child. until 9 months later. And she had gotten herself into some trouble personally, and she was having some problems. And so she showed up on the doorstep one day and asked him to take the baby and take care of him. And of course, my nephew said yes and took the baby. And then once she discovered there was another woman in his life, or that there was a woman in his life, and he had moved on, she came back for vengeance. And the only way that she could hurt him was through his kid. So that's exactly what she tried to do, claiming that he had no rights to the child because he wasn't on the birth certificate.
Mm.
And so he was ordered to immediately give the child back to the mother. And then that's when court proceedings started. So, yeah, he filed a motion to get his name on the birth certificate. Then he, after that, filed all the other motions that they needed. And now he has full custody.
Yeah, and the fact that the mother proved that she was a manipulating bitch didn't really affect the court's judgment at all.
Yeah. I'm glad that, like I said, in that way, I'm glad that we have made progress. But I do empathize with men in this regard, because especially depending on where you live, the laws are still very backward and, favor the birth mother in all situations, regardless of how ill equipped or ill suited the birth mother may be to actually care for a child.
Mhm.
Then there was the time the judge gave my 14-year-old daughter to her deadbeat, drunken ass father
What?
for no fucking reason,
What?
except that's what she wanted.
Oh my god. Oh no. I'm so
And
sorry.
probably started the dominoes falling to being the reason why I'm raising her two oldest kids. And she's in prison.
Oh,
Oof.
that's
Yeah. Had to
terrible.
fight two separate daddies in
Oh,
court to get these kids out of the shit they were in. So,
that's so terrible. I'm so sorry.
but they're doing good now. Granny's got them.
Yeah. Well, you should be proud of that. And you should be proud that you're, a good mother and grandmother.
Well, I made, I did not go through the system. I did not go through CPS. I could have, maybe should have. Everybody says you should because then you could get money. It's like, I don't want money. I want the kids to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
But
Exactly.
I decided I didn't want the bureaucrats in my business, so we just went to court. I told my daughter, I said, look, you can either let me take them with me right now and
Mm-hmm.
let me get, legal guardianship so I can take them to the doctor, stuff like that, or I can call CPS on you. And then go in foster care and I can fight for 6 months and hopefully get to be their guardian,
Right.
you know. And luckily
Like,
she
do you
made,
really want a stranger wanting raising your kids, or do you
yeah,
want me, someone and is going to love them and take care of them raising your kids?
yeah, fortunately she made one good decision in her life and let
Yes.
me take them with me that day.
Oh, thank
And
goodness.
yeah.
I'm very glad that she did.
Yeah,
Although
it's
I'm sorry that that situation had to happen at all.
yeah, it really sucks. It really does. But at the same time, it is what it is. You
Yeah.
know,
And you're
it
making the
is what
best
it
of
is.
it, you know.
I have my moments where I'm madder than absolute hell at her, uh, but she's basically got no contact at this point, so it's like not a
Mm.
big deal. As long as she don't try to come around again, it won't be a
Yeah.
problem.
Well, I don't, that's part of being a human sometimes that is so difficult, is like, just because you feel a connection to a child that you gave birth to doesn't mean anything. You know, whenever you prove through your action or inaction that, you know, you're not present and you're not there, every time you try to, you know, insert, I have this going on in my own family. Every time you try to insert yourself at random intervals, all it does is confuse the kid. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
they sit
Oh
there
yeah.
staring out the window. When's mommy coming back? When's mommy coming back? And it's like,
Yeah.
mommy's not coming back. And then when mommy comes back 2 years later with a Christmas present, you know, oh,
Yeah. At some point, you have to say no. You
yeah,
can't do that. And
yeah,
like I've cut off contact. She's not going to be allowed to come back around. She's had too many chances, and I don't care if she got help in jail. I don't care if she didn't. I've got to
yeah,
think about these two because they don't have a voice at all.
absolutely.
They're stuck with whatever they're stuck with, and now they're stuck with grumpy old granny who can't run and roller skate and stuff. So,
No, you're not
you know,
grumpy.
oh yes, I am.
I always find you kind of jovial, not really grumpy.
I am most of the time, but if you've been around kids long enough, that it don't take very long, and you can be very
Yeah.
grumpy.
You know,
They
It's
can
true.
that's the funny thing about older people and kids. I had an uncle who I knew when I was between 5 and 10, and he terrified me. But when I moved to South Carolina where they were, I he quickly became my favorite uncle. And it was like
Hmm.
I finally realized, he just didn't know, having 10 kids at your house is stressful, and he had a big booming voice.
Yeah.
Um, and when I finally came back around him, he was older and he wasn't doing well health wise. He had like 25% lung functionality or something. He was always on oxygen. But I would go around to
Hmm.
do housework, and he always had Dove chocolates on his next to his chair. And so I would come in and I would be like, "Hey, Uncle Bobby," and he would be like, "Hello, little girl. Would you like a piece of candy?" And I'd be like, "Yes, creepy old man. I'd like a piece of candy."
Oh.
Oh. And that's what I was, saying to somebody else the other day who was talking about the kids, the nieces and the nephews. As I'm like, when they're older, they'll come to realize things, and the things that they've said when they were younger, they'll regret.
Yep. Yep.
Holy cow! How late it is.
I
It's
know, right?
3:30 in the morning for me.
My computer's telling me your device needs to restart to install updates. Time to select a time. No, not right now.
Yeah, at
Like,
least
not
you
at
got
this
it set
time,
right. That
computer.
gives you the warnings and doesn't start to do the updates automatically.
Yeah, that's why I'm gonna go here and click it so it doesn't start doing it in the next 30 minutes or
It always sucks when I go set my computer up to do stuff when I'm away, and then I come home and it's sitting on the login screen, and I'm like, "God damn updates!"
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've learned to do them though, because if you don't, your shit don't work right.
Oh
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. When you ignore it for too long, you
Yeah.
end up like me and nothing works. And you're like, oh my God. And then it takes like literally 48 hours to get your shit working right again.
yep.
I'm way
I have a laptop that I bought for one reason, and I used it one weekend and then just set it on a desk because I didn't have a use for it. And then I had a use for it, and I turned it on, and it took me 3 days to get the thing working because it had like 30 updates or more.
I feel your pain.
And like every time I would
Yep.
restart it, it would do it again. And I'm like, "Oh,
Hmm.
come on, computer."
I have one like that too. That was a gift to me from a friend when I had like literally no piece of technology. And, so she sent it to me, and yeah, I have, I have that. I've had that problem many times with that laptop, where I'm like, oh crap, this is gonna take like
And
20
these are
hours
all
before I
these
can
are
use
all
it.
these are all PCs, right?
Yeah,
It's
laptops,
laptop,
PCs.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yep.
bad
But yeah,
about not updating
Now
stuff on
go
my
ahead,
phone.
curse how bad Apple is.
I'm,
Apple's never do any of that shit ever.
oh,
Never. I've been using them since 1984. They never do any of that kind of shit. They always work. So
I'm
go rag on
debating.
Apple some more. I just
Yeah.
get such a kick out of it. You know, all these people on this YouTube. Oh, you know, as soon as you mention Apple, oh Apple.
Oh, I know.
But
They like jump down your
every
throat.
single stream that you go on, they're always having problems with their computers.
Yeah.
Always.
but most of that is not necessarily the computer; it's the user. It's
Yeah.
an
It's
It's the
the
IDGenti
user.
error.
environment. It's the environment. I'm not ragging about the machine. I don't care if it's Dell or HP or whoever. It's not the machine, it's the environment. Windows sucks. The people who write software for Windows suck. They don't try to take into account other compatibility issues,
Yeah.
user issues, backup issues, any of that stuff. What they
Agreed.
all bitch about Apple is how controlling Apple is. Blah, 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 blah. Apple has criteria for writing software for a Mac.
Yeah.
And part of that is that it is compatible with everything else.
Yeah. I've
Okay?
actually been
And the end
debating
result
whether or not to get a Mac.
and the
Like
end result
a
is that
MacBook Pro.
everything works. How can you bitch about that?
Yeah.
Oh God! And here I am trying to buy a PC.
I would love to have an actual PC, but like I said, I'm currently debating whether or not to start putting money away for a MacBook Pro, but I haven't decided yet. I'm not sure. I'm still looking and comparing at other things. And also cost is a big issue because
Well,
I'm a poor bitch.
I've never had a crash with data loss. I have never had a virus. I have never had um, anything that happened outside of a normal thing like a hard drive failure because of its age or something like that.
Hmm.
That has cost me time or money.
Yeah.
Period. And everything always works. And I did advanced stuff. I had advanced video workstations on my Mac and was pushing them to the limit all the time. And
And
yes, you can
also
get
have an Apple
software up the yin
phone.
yang, and you can get accessories up the yin yang. All those things are so untrue. And
Yeah.
and e- ever since the '90s, people say, "Oh, Apple's going to go out of business anytime." Okay, sure. This number one valued company on the planet is going to go out of business.
Right.
Really?
No, not every. No, it would take so much for that to happen. Like, oh my goodness.
The only problem with Mac, and I will admit it, is like, for example, this YouTube stuff. Everybody wants to stream and things, and the software that is written for PCs is not written for the Mac, and so you can't
Mm,
do certain things
Oh
because the
yeah.
people will not
okay,
make the software for it.
that might
Why
be a
they want to
problem for
ignore
me
an
then,
installed base of
because
50
the
million
main
computers,
thing
I
I
don't
would
know.
use is streaming. So I definitely have to have a laptop that can stream for
Yeah,
sure.
and that's the only reason I'm going with PCs because the idiots who write the software aren't going to write it for a Mac because they're too fucking stupid to do it right.
I hate when that happens.
But
Although I've seen a few, well, not I've seen a lot of YouTube channels, like smaller YouTube channels that are streaming and make pretty good, at least the new one anyway. So,
I will definitely be using my Mac equipment to make my videos. Absolutely. I wouldn't even begin to think of making them on a PC.
well, I'm talking
But
about their
when it
live
comes to
streams. Like
streaming
their
it,
live stream goes well. I haven't seen any issues yet.
oh well,
Um,
I would love to give me names of people who are doing that because I'd be
yeah,
love to talk to them.
sure.
I haven't had any problems live streaming except for my Wi-Fi sucks. My internet sucks, so that's my only real problem.
Luckily, that's one problem I don't have. I knock
So,
on
but
wood, have great
tell
internet.
me something, Jen.
Yeah,
If a brand new a brand new video card comes out that's like 10 times better than your current video card in your Mac, don't you have to buy a whole new system to get that new card?
not any more than you might with a PC.
Eh,
Not all
no.
video cards are compatible with the newest PCs.
No,
and mostly those things come down to the firmware that's been written and whether or not they wrote it to be compatible with an older operating system, and that's
I mean,
true in any
I'm not.
environment.
No, but what I'm getting at is like from my understanding with Apple, you can't replace parts. You have to replace the entire thing. You can't like if you have an
Oh
iPhone
no,
and the battery goes
just
bad.
not true.
It's like if you
That's
have
not
an
true.
iPhone and the battery goes bad, you have to get a new iPhone. You can't just replace the battery.
That's not true. I
Yeah,
replace my batteries myself.
you can get a new battery for your phone because I
Sure.
had to buy my nephew a new battery for his iPhone.
Yeah, that's absolutely one of those urban myths that go around that
Yeah,
people like to make lies about Apple the same way as flurfers make lies about globe Earth. it's just it's just a bunch of bullshit.
the
But
only thing I
you
can
have to
think
go
of is
through
the
them.
age of it. Like if you
You know,
have
it,
like an iPhone
look
4,
around.
then
Oh
you would
my
have a
God.
problem.
Watch things like news stories and stuff like that when they're at like JPL, and look what's on the desks of the people at Jet Propulsion Laboratory. You're going to see Macintosh, 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 Macintosh. Go to Microsoft and see what they actually use.
Yeah,
Macintosh, Macintosh,
yeah,
Macintosh. Yes, to
that's
create the
true.
Microsoft operating system, they use Macintosh, 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 Macintosh. It's look at Hollywood.
Yeah, that's very true. It's
um,
all Apple products.
sorry,
Well,
it's just the
I
way it's the
understand a
reality.
lot of that, especially like JPL, is concerns over security issues, that they consider that
I was just
Windows
fixing to
has a
bring
lot
that
more
up.
security issues than the
Yup,
Macs.
Hmm.
That's a lot easier to hack into a Windows system.
yup. I mean, you can hack into a Mac system too, but it's not as easy. Period. And a lot of the hackers don't bother writing for the Mac system because they're under the same foolish beliefs that Macs aren't worth it and Macs don't, and why bother? And well, there's a minimum of 50 million installed base out there.
I've been using Windows since 1995. I've never had a virus. I've never had a. I have never been hacked. This little Toshiba laptop that I'm using now is just. I had to replace the hard drive in it once, but I put a solid state in so that it won't do that anymore. And it's. I just don't have any trouble with it. I mean, yeah, the updates are
That's
kind of
good.
annoying sometimes, but I ain't had no trouble with it at all. Like it doesn't lock, it doesn't freeze. I don't have to reboot it all the time like I used to. Like Windows 7 was the worst. Oh my god. And my husband loves it. I think he's still using 7.
Oh my goodness.
He just
Oh.
thinks it's a great thing because he has a problem with change. Like, well, I don't, it doesn't look like what I'm used to, so I don't want to use it.
Mhm.
Well, that's dumb. You get used to what it looks like after a couple of days, you know.
Yeah.
But I, I've never used Apple. Not, I don't have anything against Apple. I've just never used one, so that like I'm just not what I'm used to. So I don't know. I've
Yeah.
never
Well,
bought it.
if you're having a good experience and it's doing everything you want, I
Then you
wouldn't
don't
switch.
exactly.
No,
It's like
I couldn't afford to
why
anyway right
fix
now.
something that's not broken?
I used
Yeah.
an Apple IIe for a year.
Yeah.
That's going back a ways.
Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully hopefully I actually have soon so that I can, well, so that I have the ability to make the decision of what the hell
Yeah.
I'm going to buy. But currently, it's not really, I don't really have to think about it because I don't have the funds for it, so it
Yeah,
doesn't
well,
matter.
I just knew I didn't have enough understanding of the stuff that I had to stick with Windows just because that's what most of the software is written for.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me, Purple. I'll DM you later. I have not forgotten about you. I had some personal issues, some of which included the stuff that I was talking about before we went live. But
Yeah, well, you can
but
always
yeah,
DM me on Twitter.
but I'll be getting that to you this week.
Yeah,
That drive.
yeah, yeah, no hurry. Whatever works out for you.
I hit the wrong button.
We're wondering what happened to you.
Somebody said something, and I'm like, oh, go back to that window because this is not important. And then I hit the wrong X. I was like, and now I forgot what I was gonna say.
Oh no. Well,
That's
hopefully
all
it comes
right.
back to you.
I went pee a while ago and I came back and all the pictures had shuffled around.
Oh no, it was just probably something about PC versus Mac, anyways, which is
Hey,
Well, I'm
Nerdy Rodent,
currently
did you know you can run
sharing.
Linux on a Mac?
Yep,
Can
you
you
can
really? I
run
didn't know that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh, you
you can
can
run
run
Linux.
Windows too.
hmm
And it runs better on the Mac than it does on a PC.
I'm
Huh.
currently sharing a computer with my brother, and I like it. It's good, but I really, I need something. I need something just for me, like this sharing thing, especially while trying to do
Yeah.
stuff with my channel is getting, it's getting complicated.
Um,
But he got an Alienware, and it's cool. I like it.
Bimilzebub, yes, apples are expensive, but like everybody always harps in the Apple community, you got to look at your
They
computer
last
cost as
though.
the total
They last.
cost of ownership, not just
Mm-hmm.
the purchase price.
Yeah,
You
like
know,
a
now if you
car.
can do your own support, that's one thing, but most people can't. And for those people, it's going to cost a lot more to own a PC than it will a Mac because Macs you don't have to have all the trained staff to nurse it along every day. Um,
Yeah.
you ask people at help desks that are staffed with 5 Windows people and 1 Mac person because the Macs just don't break. Um, but another thing, nerdy. What did you say here that I was going to say? Oh, when I buy used. I buy them off lease.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of the time I don't, and most other people don't really need the most current, latest, and greatest brand new processor and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I buy them
Yeah.
off lease, and I get them for Christ, sometimes 50% off of retail.
Well,
I'm
Wow.
actually constantly reaming people who have this mentality of, oh, I have to have the latest, greatest, newest thing, otherwise everything else is shit. Well, I'm just like,
yeah.
what? No. No. Oh my god. Come on now.
Well,
Yeah,
that's like the one I've
I
got
like
now.
Linux.
I bought as a refurbished unit. It was a 2-year-old
Mm-hmm.
workstation when I bought it.
Yep.
But, I got the complete system for $300.
Wow. Yeah. That's great.
So, yeah, it's not the most powerful one around, but it managed to do what I needed it to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to build a system, a PC, because I know I can build that kind of stuff. But it's still going to cost like 1,500 to 2,000 for the parts.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I don't know
well,
PCs well enough to know what stuff I can safely buy used and that kind of stuff. I'd love to find a junkie who could answer those questions and help me buy the stuff used.
my boyfriend does all the. I tell my boyfriend what I want my computer to do, and then he orders my parts. I
Yeah,
can put it
that's
together. I can put it together, but I'm always sketchy on like, well,
hi
how much
art.
RAM do I need? Like, and what kind of a video card do I need? Because I want to play this video game. And he's like, well, you want to get this and this and this and this to run this because I game and I can't game on a crap PC because of course I need video cards and everything.
Yeah. Well,
And
Jen, as far as the questions you were saying, anytime I start asking stuff like that, everybody tells me either talk to Nadine or Faye
Yeah.
says go to her friend Crafty.
Yeah, definitely talk to Nadine.
Yeah.
Nadine Callan?
Yeah. She's
Okay.
brilliant. She has fixed so many problems for me and she does it in like 30 seconds and she knows stuff. She knows lots of stuff. So
Yeah, well, see, I need
she's
somebody who I can hand a bunch of money to and say, go buy the parts I need to accomplish this. Um,
yeah, where are you looking to get your parts from? Do you
well,
know?
to first lay out the configuration I wanted, I went to what's the name, someplace online um, where you can list all of these different parts and it tells you what's compatible, what's not, and all that kind
Hmm.
of junk.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's what I want to find used is these various items.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tiger
Um,
Direct and Newegg are the
Yep,
ones that I go
that's
to
what I was
most
gonna
often.
suggest.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I do
Newegg.
Micro Center as well, which is a
yeah.
smaller computer company.
I figured that I'm going to have to buy a motherboard new,
Yeah.
and I'm going to want to buy a case new because I'm particular about style and appearance, which is
Yeah.
shallow, but it's still how I feel.
It's
No,
not
my
Hey, it's
next,
shallow.
your
no, it's
thing.
not.
It
No,
matters.
because my next
If it matters to
PC,
you, it matters.
my next PC is going to be like hot pink or bright purple. I have decided, and everything. If it can't fit in that case that I want, it's not going to get it because I
That's
just do
actually
regular.
what I'm looking for too, is something hot pink with LEDs.
There you go.
Because my
um,
boyfriend's got this nice computer with like a water cooling system and a glass side panel and like blue going all through it, and I'm like, I want a fancy case, but they never do them in girly colors. But that's changing now because now they've got it where it's like what is it? That kind of light that can just the kind of lighting that can just change color and you can
Yeah,
just
the
pick the colors.
LEDs.
Yeah, they've got LEDs now where you can just be like,
Mm-hmm.
this is the tone of pink that I want.
Which
Yeah,
is
my husband's
awesome.
computer's got LEDs. It changes colors just for
I
looks.
I
No
want mine to
function.
be a dual purpose machine so that I can play PUBG at a good frame rate and
Yeah.
also be able to do video production.
Yeah, well, I don't care what it looks like as long as it does the job. I'm
Well,
very
that's
Um,
utilitarian about everything.
that's
one
Yeah,
thing,
my
poor Purple is just like, I need something that works. Just
one
anything that works. Give it, fucking
one
send it to me, guys.
one behavior I developed with Macs is that I always max out the RAM on any machine I get,
yeah.
um,
Yeah.
because it
Well,
just makes a
that's
huge
what
difference
I'm
in the
looking
long run.
for mine. Is I think I can still work with this machine for a couple of years if I can upgrade the memory.
And nowadays, I would like to go with an SSD for the main system disk, an applications disk, and have an external 1 or 2 gig something or other for data storage.
Yeah, I'm looking into
I mean, it'd be
when
nice
I
to
have the
have
money
have
to get a 2 gig. I mean a 2 terabyte external drive.
yeah, it'd be nice to have several hard drives to have a RAID system going. My last workstation Mac had 2 terabytes total hard drive, but it was in 4 different hard drives.
Mm,
You know,
Um,
okay.
you can. There's this thing I'm vaguely familiar with called partitioning, and you can
mhm,
make it's all on one drive.
yep.
You can have like a 2 terabyte drive, but then it looks on your computer like you've got four.
Hmm.
And my boyfriend does that with my computer a lot. He partitions out a part of it, and that's my C drive where I put like required stuff like Windows and whatever. And then there's the other partition where I put my games and things.
Yeah, the advantage though to having an SSD for just a system and apps is that they're always instant access and that the
Sure.
fastest
Yes.
transfer speeds possible.
Hmm.
And external for data is just a security kind of thing. That if I have a collapse of the system, I can pull out this one disk and here's all my data still in one piece.
Right.
I'm one of those people who actually does regular backups.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I'm going to need a fairly stout video card. I don't know enough about audio on PCs. On Mac, everything gets pumped out in full stereo, so you don't really have to think about it.
Yeah.
Just plug into the jack. But on a PC, I understand that you can have either onboard or audio card. I don't know. I might be talking out my ass right now.
Now,
I
see,
just don't know.
I don't even think that my ears work evenly. I don't even think stereo works on me. I mean, I think, I got two ears just so I can tell which direction it's coming from, but I don't think even stereo makes any difference to me, let alone any, high quality audio stuff.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever gone big deal audio card myself either. It's just used onboard.
Yeah, I could probably use something better just because it would help me, recording videos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But as far as me listening to stuff, I really can't tell the difference between, the whole shebang and just the basic. All sounds pretty much the same to me.
So I'd kind of like to set up a GoFundMe thing, but I don't know if that's just kind of selfish. To,
Why
'cause I,
not? I mean, you, look, this is how I see it. Everyone does GoFundMe's for one thing or another, and I've seen people do the most shallow and strange GoFundMe's. But, whatever. If someone chooses of their own free will to give to that cause, regardless of anyone else's opinion of it, then they choose to give to that cause. So I see absolutely nothing wrong with doing a GoFundMe for, whatever you need a GoFundMe for,
Exactly.
especially if you need it.
yeah, I mean,
The problem is all your friends are poor. That's
yeah,
my problem.
yeah, that's
All
a
my
part of it
friends are
Yeah,
too.
fucking poor as I
that's my
am. It doesn't do
problem
me no
too.
good.
Yeah, that's my
I
problem
I was
too.
I was barely able to raise $200 for a birthday GoFundMe that I had a birthday charity that I did in September for a animal rescue.
Mm.
Yeah. Like on
Yeah,
Facebook.
and
Yeah,
I
it was
have
one
the
of those free Facebook things. I managed to get it eventually.
Yeah, I got $40 for mine, so that was like real impressive.
See, I don't
and
use
I have these
Facebook. Like, I haven't used
brothers and
Facebook in
family back
years.
home that live in the two of the richest suburbs in the state of Wisconsin,
Yeah.
and could easily just here have some money. But hell, a couple months ago when I was literally starving, they couldn't even kick me $50 so I could buy some dinner. So I know
That's
they're not
pretty
going to help.
shitty.
Yeah, it really
Yeah,
is.
that
That's
sucks.
really shitty. I don't
Well,
have
that's
any
okay.
rich
My brother
relatives.
did send me an emote for my birthday.
Mm, nice emotes, birthday
Yeah.
Wow.
emotes.
Gee, thanks, John.
Yeah. What I can't stand is I cannot stand when people, they go above and beyond helping someone, whether it's someone they know or a complete stranger. And then whenever they're in a desperate situation and they're in need, all those people are just magically gone.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
I
happens
It's
bailed
not
both
sometimes.
of
that
my brothers
they're,
out so
I'm
many
not,
times
yeah. And
with
I'm
their
not
cars and
talking
shit.
about people that have, that can't give because they're in the same boat as you or because they're having hard times or whatever. I'm talking about people that are they're fine and they're good. They got what they wanted from you, and now they're done.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
when you need something from them, like no, they're nowhere to be found. But if they need something for you, oh, they'll totally contact you again then.
That's why
Five
I don't
years
ask people
later,
for nothing,
hey,
then I'm
you
not
got money?
disappointed.
Right. Same
I
here.
just don't ask.
Same here.
Yeah,
I
I
never
I
asked for shit. Somebody told me, well, my brother actually told me to set up a GoFundMe for me, and I was like, no, like I'm not doing that. And it's so weird because I mean, like I just said to you, like I'm always encouraging everyone else to do a GoFundMe, but whenever someone else tells me to do a GoFundMe, I'm like, no, I can't do that.
Well, don't you have to have a bank account to have a GoFundMe?
I don't know.
I
Because
don't
I
I don't have a
know.
bank account.
think they do
Well,
PayPal now.
I think you might be able to have it put onto a card.
If
I
you can
think.
put it into PayPal, I'd be okay. But
no, they won't do it to PayPal.
Oh, they won't.
Well, I did.
Yeah, they
I
do.
had to handle the money for Christy Santiago to get her new computer because she didn't have an account at the time that could go directly into.
Mm-hmm.
I
So
have mine
yeah,
set up to directly deposit into
Doxy.
my PayPal.
Oh, you had yours
Oh, that's
set
cool.
up to PayPal.
Yeah. So
Well, that's
when
good to know.
well,
when
yeah,
I
because they
so
must
lost
have
when I
changed that
lost
in
my
between.
house
Because when I did it, they told me that they couldn't send it to a PayPal account.
and went homeless, I still owed a shitload of taxes and stuff on it. A guy I knew back home started a GoFundMe, and they raised a huge amount of money. I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
Um,
That's
and
awesome.
I mean, I still lost the house, and that's okay. But
Mm,
at least I was able to walk away debt free
Yeah.
from the
yeah.
situation instead of having my ass reamed.
Well, that's great. I have so much medical debt that like I just oh I don't know what to do, and it
Well
pisses
then,
me
well then
off
you should
because
do it too.
I don't know I just like I said I don't know I have weird
Your own
issues with
issues,
it.
your own issues never seem as important to yourself, I
This is
think.
true. Yeah, this is true. I have no problem helping other people out or doing any little thing I can to try and help other people out. But I mean, I won't lie. I definitely have issues. It's not a pride thing. Like I don't really know what my problem is, honestly. I guess I just see everyone else's issues as like more important than my issues. I see so many people struggling that I'm just like, oh man, that's so sad, and like that sucks, and who am I to ask for, whatever whenever everybody else is suffering too? I don't know.
No,
I'm
I get
kind of the
that.
same way. I feel
I
like I'm bound to be better off than most. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm not well off in any way, but I'm okay. Like I don't have to worry where my next meal's coming from. I don't have to worry about losing my house. I don't have to worry about the lights being turned off. Those kind of things. I don't
Well, see,
have a lot of extra spending money or
my
extra
water
cash
got
or
shut
anything,
off
but I have.
yesterday, and my electricity almost got shut off today. The only reason it didn't is because I got paid. But
I've been
yeah,
there. Where I'm at now is not where I spent most of my adult life, so I, I I don't complain too much about what I got going on right now. But I've
yeah.
been there where the water's cut off and the lights are cut off and the car insurance is due, but you have to drive to work anyway and that kind
And
of
you have
stuff.
to decide which thing
That's why I don't mind helping
is
other people.
okay being shut off and which thing, you got to
yep.
prioritize like, oh, I'm
Yeah,
okay with this being shut off, but this needs to get paid.
yeah,
And I
When I
yeah.
get
was
it.
We used to
when I
do
was
things like send a check to the water company and forget to sign it because it would buy you a couple of days.
Mm, yep,
And oh yeah, okay, I'll get in there. I'll be in there on Wednesday and I'll sign it. You know,
yep,
I mean, we just have to juggle like that to.
yeah.
And God Almighty, I can't tell you how many years I lived on bologna, ramen noodles, and tuna.
Oh,
Blech.
like,
I can't eat any of that stuff anymore.
hey, that's what
yeah,
I had tonight.
I can't eat it.
A can of
I
tuna and
can't
a granola
either.
bar.
My kids love tuna, and I will make it for them, but I cannot. It just cannot pass my lips anymore. And I used to love it, but
I
it's
can
just like,
still
oh,
eat
bleh.
tuna,
Still
I
tastes
thankfully.
like bitterness and sadness of my first marriage.
Yeah, that's
I
how
turned
ramen
down
tastes to me.
when I was working with
Bitterness and
the
sadness of my ex marriage.
Yeah.
county social worker um, a year ago. I refused food stamps because I know the county has a limited budget and that there's people worse off than I was.
Oh,
Right.
I take them now, but at that time I was able to do without, so I did.
yeah. See, that's something I would totally do and have done. And then, of course, now that I actually need them, I don't qualify for them. I'm like, what?
Mhm.
Yeah.
How does
Yeah.
that work? I don't have any money. Like, what are you counting as money? And they're just like, you make too much money. I'm like, from where? Like, what?
I've had people tell me that I'm scamming the system because I get assistance and I own a BMW.
Oh,
Oh
They
my
please.
don't
God.
stop. Wait a minute. They don't stop
Oh,
to find out that it's a 23-year-old car
Yeah.
with
Hello.
yeah,
a half a million miles on it
Oh shit. God
that I
damn.
I
bought
can't
used for
stand.
$1,500.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate this mentality. I have ranted and bitched about this before several places. Like, I absolutely loathe this mentality that, oh, you're not in a bad situation, or if you are, it's your own fault because you own X
One nice thing.
thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
nice thing, a car. How dare you ask for money? It's
Yep.
disgusting. Did you ever stop to think that maybe it's old, like you just pointed out? Or did you ever stop to think maybe someone died and they left that person that thing? Like, stop assuming weird ass shit about people's stuff.
Yeah.
And what's even worse than I mean even in all of that, it's still this whole thing where it's like, what? So you're saying that in order to be worthy of needing assistance, I have to sell everything I own and
I
and
need to
never
live in
be
a
allowed to
box.
have a nice thing
Yeah,
because I'm
you
poor?
have to live in a
No, because if you
box
do
and
that, then you'll
own
have a bunch of
nothing.
cash that they count against you.
Yep, yep. I hate that mentality. I hate
Yeah.
it so much. It's so toxic, you know?
Guys, I hate to run off and leave you, and I have enjoyed this so very much, but I have got to get to bed. School morning comes early in the morning, and I'm going to get about 3
Yeah.
hours worth, so.
Well, we've been going on about 3 hours here, and I think I probably should shut it down here because,
Well, I'm not.
like I said,
No, don't make me make you turn it off. I just
no,
need to go
no.
to
Like I
bed.
say, my brother's gonna help me with the car tomorrow, so I have to do that on his schedule.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That is 10 minutes to being 3 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I
it's 3
have to
o'clock in
be up
the morning
earlier
Oh, come
tomorrow
on, we
than
have
I
to hang in
normally
that
would
10
be.
minutes.
here.
I like round numbers. I'm sorry.
I can't. Y'all hang for 10. I gotta go pee. So I will catch you all later.
Alright.
I love
Good
y'all
night,
tons.
Angie.
Okay,
Bye,
thanks for
We love
coming
you
everybody
in.
in the
too.
chat.
We'll see you
Mwah.
Night.
later.
Mwah.
Nice to see you again, Ange.
Night, Angie.
You too.
Yep.
Bye, Doc. I love you. I didn't get to hear you at all this evening.
He's
Oh,
always
Yeah, he
so
I'm
tends to
sure.
do
quiet.
that.
I'm sure everyone's weary of my winded rhetoric.
Oh, please.
No.
This
Oh,
is the
now I
first
can't.
time.
Now I
This
can't
is the
hear
first
Doc.
time I've ever heard you sit. What?
All right. Bye, guys. See y'all later.
Bye bye.
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 Okay, so does anyone have anything coming up they want to plug?
No, but if
Um.
you're around on Sunday, I guess Lavender Lady is doing a conversation about gender. I guess it's actually technically
Yeah.
genital preferences.
I
Yep.
really want to make that stream. Like I'm gonna try really hard. I've got some personal crap going on, but I really hope I can make it because oh yeah, I
She
have
she
opinions.
she asked me to be on it.
And
I
you know
don't
how to
know.
make it, right?
She asked me to be on that stream. I don't know if it's been absolutely confirmed, but I think I'm going to be on it.
Yeah. Well, we'll figure it out because I felt so stupid. I replied to that thread that she started, and it was like 8 hours later. I'm like, oh, it's probably already full, and I can't be on it. But whatever.
Not necessarily, no. And plus, she can always rotate. Like
That's
it's
Yeah.
true.
it's fine. Yeah,
Well, and there
because I
might
mean,
be
I
people
told
who
her that I
can't
was
stay through the
interested.
whole thing, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You have people that can only show up for 30 minutes to an hour and they'll be getting off. And then you have other people that'll, they're available the whole day. So it varies.
Yeah.
I gave her the names of some trans folks that I've run into on Twitter who are pretty bright, pretty well spoken, from both the states and Great Britain.
Hmm.
Oh, that's the only thing about starting a GoFundMe is just make sure the wrong people don't hear about it.
Oh, Lord. Yeah. See,
What
that's
does
the
that
other
mean?
thing is like I have a stalker and
You know who Ansgar Odinson is?
Yeah.
He started a GoFundMe for his car.
Hmm.
I mean, I
Mhm.
don't understand how anybody in this circle wouldn't know. I don't even know why I asked. Um, and he got a bunch of shit about it from another YouTuber,
Yeah.
um, because they didn't comprehend America or something. I'm not sure. I didn't watch the video.
Yeah,
I was
it
really
got into a
sad
war of a
that,
couple back and forth videos because
yeah,
yeah, they weren't getting the idea that in some parts of America you can't really keep a job if you don't have a car.
exactly. It made me really sad to see that people were attacking, or, that people were attacking for just needing help. I'm like, why? Like,
That's such
if
bullshit.
you have a problem with it, why can't it just be your problem that you keep to yourself?
Yeah.
I mean, like I said earlier, if somebody wants to donate to someone else, then they want to donate to someone else. End of conversation. Full stop.
Yeah,
Right.
that's crazy why somebody would do that.
Yeah. Like, it's just not your business what other people choose to do with their money. Like, if I choose to help out with, people's GoFundMe's because I happen to be in a position where I can, that's my business. It's no one else's business that I'm helping someone's GoFundMe. And I think it's pretty sad and pathetic that you would make it your business and go
I
out
th-
of your way to demonize people or call into question the person that's asking for help.
Well, see, the thing is like I understand the underlying issue that the person had, in that there's a lot of people who use GoFundMe for stupid shit, and they
Sure.
get tons of donations, and then
Hmm.
you've got somebody who needs life-saving surgery and they earn $12.
Yeah.
Exactly. All the
And I
more
mean, and
reason to
I could
start a GoFundMe. I see silly GoFundMes all the time, but I never publicly speak out against them because, again, that's between the person that started it and the people that choose to give. It's not my business.
right. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I
Unless,
can understand why people who've had GoFundMes for serious things like medical bills or whatnot, who can't get a couple. Why is this? Why is there a hole here? Oh, sorry. Um, like I, for example, tried to start a GoFundMe at one point for some dental work that I desperately needed to get done, and I didn't get any
Mm-hmm.
money. But this was at the same
Oh.
time that the guy did the whole potato salad GoFundMe, and it was
Mm.
like triple funded.
Ugh,
And it's
I'm
like,
so
so,
sorry.
well, I ended up getting a promotion at work and getting medical and getting it all taken care of through that. But
That's
it was
great.
just it was just the whole thing of like, I've got this GoFundMe. It's for something that can cause me to die if I'm not careful. And this
Right.
guy's got a GoFundMe to make potato salad, and he earns $500,000.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely.
So I can understand people's frustrations with GoFundMe's
Yeah,
that like that.
absolutely.
Although overall, I think it's a wonderful development in our culture that that
Yeah,
that it can exist and that people can be just completely saved from horrible situations.
I don't
agreed.
I actually don't think
Agreed.
it's as good as people make it out to be in that in that way. Like, we shouldn't have to rely on charity
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. No, we
for
shouldn't
Well,
have
yeah,
medical
to.
Well,
yeah.
No.
the sad thing is that the American healthcare system is so
shit,
shoddy
right?
Mm-hmm.
that medical medical help is the most common thing on GoFundMe.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
heard somebody make a joke that
And that should not there. We shouldn't have a society that makes that even possible to happen.
right.
No, we shouldn't.
It's like
And, if I
there's
ever start mine, that's what it'll be about is my medical stuff because I can't see the specialist I need to see because whenever I was hospitalized, my specialist came to visit me in the hospital. So not only do I owe the hospital money, but I owe money directly to the specialist's office because I had to follow up with them once I got released from the hospital. And so they won't make a new appointment for me or any new scans or anything until my balance is paid.
Jeez.
Yeah.
at least they're willing to let you pay after the fact, though. I've had medical situations where
Yeah.
they were like, you have to pay up front.
Oh yeah, we have that too. The only reason I got help was because I went to the emergency room, and when I was in the emergency room, they ended up admitting me, and stayed in the hospital for a week.
Gotcha.
So that's the only reason I didn't have to like pay up front in that situation.
My
Gotcha.
transition surgery, I had to pay in cash
Oh
up
my
front.
god. Oh, jeez. I can't even imagine shelling out that much money up front. Oh my
Oh, I
lord.
literally had to drive a couple hundred miles to the hospital with $15,000 in cash in my pockets.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'd be so paranoid.
Oh,
Oh my
I
god.
was.
I bet.
I get paranoid just taking out $600 to pay my rent. I would just be beside myself with terror with that much money in my pocket.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, Orla
Me
brings up a
too.
good point. We got to
Hmm.
start a movement to start demanding that dental coverage be included with health insurance.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, under Bernie, it would be.
Yeah. Well, dental and
Not
mental
just
health
dental, but
are
yeah,
often not
dental,
included with most.
mental, hearing, and vision would all be
Yeah.
covered under Bernie's plan.
Hmm.
And that's how it should be. Like why is America so far behind? You know, like it
Because of the
astonishes
insurance
me.
companies have a powerful lobby.
Because it's
Yeah, I
socialism.
know, but
Yeah.
it right.
There is a
Well,
But
that's
group
what
of
it.
it's
That's the
the
scream. That's
yeah,
the
it's
there is
the
scream.
a group of
people
company
that
that makes
scare me.
billions of dollars every year off of this problem existing. So they don't want it
Oh yeah.
fixed. So they keep going to Congress to make sure that nothing meaningful happens to change it.
Oh, I'm aware. It's the individuals that scare me. The individuals that perpetuate the rhetoric of, oh, it's communism, oh, it's socialism. The
Yeah, and
Yeah.
individuals who
Have you not
say
seen our
there will be
roads,
waiting
our
lines and you're
schools?
all gonna
like the
die.
right wingers who are up there standing up there, these old people, right
Hmm.
wingers standing up there with signs protesting socialized medicine, and the
Yep.
sign says, "Keep your government hands off my Medicare."
Yep. And it's like
You know,
Yeah.
that's hilarious.
one of those things too. It's like we're so far behind. We're
Oxymoron.
so far behind in a lot of things, and it's like we are supposedly a nation founded on the separation of church and state, but people in the UK who have a national religion are less religious than the US.
Yep.
And I sit here sometimes and I'm like,
They do a better job at being the United States than we do.
maybe we shouldn't have seceded and all that jazz. I don't know.
Oh, I constantly make a joke about, if I could appeal to the queen and apologize for my forefathers, if she would take me back.
Well, I've been pushing a plan to have Canada annex the upper Midwest so I'd become Canadian by default.
Yep, Minnesota,
Right.
Wisconsin, Michigan.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually looked into, well, this isn't the first time, but several times now I've looked into becoming a Canadian citizen or an Australian citizen, getting citizenship either through Canada or Australia.
Yep.
And it's actually difficult.
Uh huh.
Like most
Yeah.
people don't understand
That's
how
my problem. They
difficult it
actually won't
really
take me.
is.
I checked into it. I don't qualify.
Yeah,
Yep.
I
Same
don't
here.
think I would either. Like the circumstances that I'm not going to share here, but yeah, the circumstances that I have, I don't think that they would accept me, unfortunately. So
Just
yeah.
go try and seek asylum in Canadian land is what I started to say.
I
I'm
like
trying to
it,
talk
Canadian
Kerry
land.
Mack into marrying me so I can become a citizen.
But I've heard
See,
that
I'm
that
gonna
doesn't
marry
even work
Jenny.
sometimes.
Me and Jen and possibly Mare. We're gonna get married,
Wait,
and
which Jen?
Jen's little corner, Jen.
Okay, as I know of three Jens, and
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of Jens that like. I know. I talk to. I think I have 5 Jens right now that I talk to, and I start getting confused.
I know of I talked to two. I know of three.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
so wish I would have picked a different name.
my sound just went out.
Aw, no, don't say that.
Why
Oh,
not? I picked it once. I can do it again.
What's a good name? Jen's a good name.
Actually, what I really regret is my middle name. My middle name is Lynn, and I took it after my therapist who basically saved my
Oh,
life. Um,
oh, that's
but I
sweet.
wish now that I would have taken my mom's maiden name.
well, you can. Is
You
it
can
is it
always
legally
add to
changed?
it.
Yes,
Oh, never mind then.
You can always add to it.
yeah, I could, I suppose.
You could do it. I do what I have and hyphenate your name and make your first name like is your first name Jennifer or Jen? Jenny.
Legally Jennifer, but Jenny, whatever.
I
Hey,
would be
you
like
asshole.
Jen
No, you're not
Jenny
asshole.
Lynn. Jenny Lynn sounds pretty.
It
Like Jenny
does.
hyphen Lynn,
Oh,
and
that
then
just
you could.
confuses people.
I think it's pretty. I like it.
My real name is hyphenated with a Lynn, so my first name is two names.
My mom's maiden name was Wilson.
Oh, well,
Nice.
it appears that something's gone wrong with the stream, and we're
Uh-oh.
like
Well,
YouTube
I
has
see
locked
it's
up.
Oh yeah,
buffering.
it's
Like I'm
buffering here
looking at
too.
the yeah, I'm looking at the computer right now and it's just buffering.
Well,
I
and
don't
I,
know
I got a
why.
message from StreamYard that it was having a problem, but everything I could see seemed to be working okay. So,
Well, everything just went quiet for me for a good half a minute there.
Huh.
So maybe that's when it happened. Maybe I did it.
you know,
Well, hopefully it's one of those things that, like once it's over and done with, it's fine and like it's
I
fully
I I
intact.
I did a refresh and it's back.
Oh, let me refresh. Hold on.
Of course, now it says there's only two
Yep.
people in the live chat.
Yes. Everybody in chat, refresh because it is
Both
properly
of you.
working.
Oh, now
Yes,
it's
both of
buffering
you.
again. YouTube is broken. We broke it.
It's still good on my end. That's weird. Oh no,
Oh, it just
now it's
started buffering.
buffering. Yep.
Well, this
I
is this
spoke too
is
soon.
this is YouTube telling us we've been at this for too long.
yeah,
And
I
we
was
made it past
trying
the
to
three
shut
hour
this
mark,
down
so
anyway. So,
Yeah, we made it past the 3 hour mark, so it's a little more
Yeah.
even.
yeah.
well, I hope to see you all at Diana's on Sunday.
Yes. If I can make it, I will definitely be there.
I hope I remember. I have a bad memory for things.
What time zone are you in?
Oh, I'm in Eastern, same as Diana.
Okay.
So
I'm
it's just
central.
I get up at noon to get ready for work, so it's just a matter of remembering to just delay getting ready for work a little while.
Yeah. I
Okay.
really hope I can make it.
Well, appreciate you all coming in tonight,
It was fun.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
I had a lot of
I'm
fun.
gonna disconnect the
It's been
stream
a
here.
while since
So,
I got to
any
stream with
last
you.
words?
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, always like having you on here. Okay, so I'm going to disconnect from YouTube. So, good
Okay.
night, everybody.
Good night,
Good
Good
guys.
night.
night.
Mwah.